Wibta for refusing to raise my husband's affair children now that he and the woman he cheated with passed away. My 45F husband, 49M, of 23 years had an affair with a 20-year-old girl since 2020. I found out this year when his affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. Obviously we were going to divorce. We've been hashing things out since. It's been a lengthy process due some properties in common and we needed to get an accountant since he used the shared account for his affair. Finally things seemed to be getting close to the end when both my husband and the woman he cheated with were killed in a car crash. By some miracle the twin babies were not harmed in the crash. Now they are orphaned and neither set of grandparents can take them in permanently. My husband's parents are both in assisted living, he has no siblings and the only aunt that could take them refuses. She's been child-free her whole life. On the woman's side, I'm not sure the details in full, but her parents are also not able to be involved long-term and the one sister she has lives overseas. Since we were still married and he had not updated his will, all his assets are set to pass to me and our 2 children. I'm not callous enough to leave those babies with nothing, so I agreed to let whoever is their legal guardian to have the remaining balance in the shared account. About 25,000 in savings. The issue is no one wants to take them in. Now my in-laws are pressuring me to take them in and raise them. The issue is, I don't want to. At all. I wouldn't love them and I don't want to be the evil stepmother. But I know a big part of me will always have a level of resentment towards them. I will probably favor my own children. It's not their fault, but I truly loved my husband and I thought we were happy before I found out about the affair. We have 2 daughters, 14 and 16. Obviously we had disagreements, but never insulted each other's before. Then I found out about the affair and he began calling me names and blaming me for his cheating. He became abusive and even tried to kick me of the house, my childhood home that is not shared property for the record. I'm also raising teenagers alone now. I don't have the energy to raise babies anymore. My daughters hate their baby brothers. I tried to get them to spend time with their dad as we were divorcing, but they refused. Since this all was found out because of the babies, there wasn't really a way to sugarcoat the situation. And they are also too old to really get away with it. Most of my friends agree it's not my place to care for those children, but my in-laws, the affair woman's parents and my mother want me to raise them. I know my mom is just having grandkids fever, but it hurts to not have her support. I have to make a decision by next week or the boys will be going into foster care. At the moment they are temporarily placed with their maternal grandparents. I feel horrible, but I am very sure I can't take them in. Wibta if I refuse to take them in. Small update. Hey everyone, this blew up far more than I thought, and I appreciate the well wishes for my girls, the boys and myself. Also for the amount of lovely people offering to see about giving the twins a good home. I might not be their mother, but it does touch me and makes me glad there's good people out there. After thinking carefully and speaking to my lawyer, reading responses, doing research, etc. I plan to speak to the grandparents tomorrow and refuse to take legal guardianship of the boys. I will let them know of the usernames of people that offered meeting for private adoptions or fostering, but my daughters are my priority. It'll be up to the twins' grandparents to decide if they'll proceed with adoption, keep them, or turn them to the state. I wish I had the mental capacity to be the person to do this, but I have 2 girls that are going through a lot and they need my full attention. I'll also be talking to the lawyers to figure out if the boys have any inheritance claim properly. If they do, I'll separate it and leave it to the lawyers to do what they need to do for them to have access when it's best. If they don't, I'll find a way to ensure they have access to the $25,000 I was going to give them since the beginning. I won't do more, however. My moral compass might be biased, but I don't believe I'm obligated neither morally nor legally to do more than what the word of law says. I can't help everyone and I shouldn't have to. I have 2 girls that lost their father, 2 girls that need therapy, 2 girls just about to get to college. They've gone through enough without seeing their mother favor the children of their father's mistress. Second update. So as I said 2 nights ago, I went yesterday to speak to the twins' grandparents. I explained my position and refused to take guardianship of the boys. My mother-in-law almost slapped me when I said that, but thankfully this was all done in a public place and my father-in-law stopped her. The maternal grandparents kept pleading for me to raise them since they didn't want to lose them. I kept saying no, and when they called me selfish, I lost it. I told them to their face the only selfish people in this mess were them and their son and daughter. Their son, my husband, for cheating and then making the divorce hell on me and my girls. Their daughter because she was a rear, I used another word, that went after a married man twice her age. I told them if I heard from them again, would request a cease and desist. I also informed my parents-in-law that they won't have access to my daughters for the foreseeable future. I'll explain why in a bit. We were at a restaurant, but I didn't stay for the meal. I also sent an email to my lawyer so he can ensure CPS and any agency involved in the welfare of the twins is aware I'm not going to be their guardian or be involved. Then I sent an email to my in-laws with all the usernames and websites from people here in Reddit that have offered to do interviews for the twins' adoption. I won't be involved beyond this point, so please, as lovely as it is, I can't help you if you are interested in the boys. Yesterday was the end of my involvement. As for why my in-laws won't see my girls, I spoke to my daughters and decided to find out more about their thoughts before I went to meet the grandparents. My youngest refused to speak to me, which I found very out of place for her. My eldest then asked for just the two of us to speak. That's when she explained that my in-laws had been going on about how the girls need to get ready to go to public school instead of their private school and to get jobs right out of high school, since I will have to provide the twins with private schooling and college money. Apparently they also were told to start moving their stuff to share a room. My girls have separate rooms, since the twins need more space. This was not known to me. Mostly cause that would never happen. Apparently my in-laws have been basically bullying the girls because the babies take priority. Yeah, that's not happening. I told the girls that their grandparents have no say in where they go to school, their college funds, or how the rooms are set in our house. Also that I do agree they could use a part-time job during college and maybe a scholarship, but their tuition will be paid. I told them not to blame the babies for the stupidity of the adults. They told me they understand, but they still don't want to interact with their brothers for now. That "for now" part gives me hope they'll get through things. For now we're going to do some changes in the house. The girls and I both don't like there's still an office space that my husband used. We're going to make it into a gaming room for all of us. I plan to take down some pictures that have my husband in them and put them in albums for the girls. We just want to make the house more ours. As for people wondering why my girls wanted nothing to do with their father, my daughters were the ones that discovered the affair and told me when my husband took them to meet the twins at the hospital. He had asked them to keep it secret, but my girls told me. After that, my husband began treating them horribly too. He burnt all bridges with the girls. Very tiny update, since there's some people who keep harassing me in PMs. I spoke to a lawyer on Monday. The boys have no inheritance claim until a DNA test is done. After that, their only claim is against my in-laws. The shared account is not considered my husband's individual property, so it's mine. Same with the lake house. Since he had a personal savings account and a life insurance, which went to his parents, that will be the only thing the boys could claim. Obviously this can be changed if it goes to trial, but the lawyer told me with how little my husband left my girls and I, there's very little chance a judge will demand our assets. The lawyer also recommended me to completely end the idea of sharing any money with the boys. That could be used against me to claim I'm taking fiscal responsibility for them and should be considered to be their guardian. I'm dividing the money from the shared account for my daughter's college tuitions. I'm still unsure if I'll sell the lake house or not, but neither the girls nor I are attached to it. Now, please leave me alone about the boys' inheritance. Sad as it is, my husband messed everything up for his children. I'm not responsible for them, nor do I have to sacrifice my assets to set them up for a better life. Another update. There's some good news and some annoying news. The good news is the boys were safely retrieved by CPS from their maternal grandparents and will be placed in foster care until a permanent arrangement is made. I found out when it happened, since their grandparents, and my mother, came to scream at me at work. In all honesty, I'm glad this happened at work and not at home. It's made me consider moving, since I don't want my daughters exposed to any of this. An annoyance I had very soon after was getting a call about my inquiries into fostering and adopting. Apparently my information was sent to CPS as someone interested in fostering the twins and eventually adopting. I immediately explained the situation between the grandparents and me, and the operator was speechless at first. She apologized for the situation and told me she would make sure I wasn't bothered about the process. I also got served this morning. My in-laws are suing for grandparents' rights. They are also suing for custody. Apparently they are planning to leave their assisted living, which they really shouldn't, to buy a house that allows kids to get the twins back, and now also want custody of my daughters. My personal lawyer immediately gave me some instructions I won't share to safeguard myself and my daughters from some risks during a possible custody battle. My lawyer and I both suspect my in-laws want the girls to provide them as caretakers for the twins, since my in-laws have mobility limitations. It will be a cold day in hell before that happens. I don't see CPS placing the boys with them to begin with. Not all is bad news. I'm starting therapy next week and my eldest daughter is once again speaking about the colleges she wants to go to. We still haven't really talked about their father or have them agree to visit his grave. I myself haven't gone there, and I'm trying really hard to get used to not calling him my husband anymore. I had nothing to do with the funeral plans aside paying bills, and from what I heard his parents had the epitaph, devoted and beloved husband, father, and son written on it. I find it a joke. I know it's bad to hold to so much anger and resent, but as soon as I have time, I plan to change his tombstone to remove husband and father. It might sound petty, but I refuse to speak well of a cheater and abuser just because he's dead. My daughters deserved better, and so did I. And for anyone complaining about me changing the tombstone, I paid for everything at the end. So, stick your complaints you know where. I don't think I'll post another update until the whole mess with the grandparents' right lawsuit is resolved. So to the kind people that have sent support to me and my daughters, thank you so much. Maybe I'll have good news in the future, but for now I'm going back to my old Reddit account. Small disclaimer, to the person that PM'd that I will regret not adopting the twins, I don't regret it one bit. Please either post a public message or leave me alone. I don't deal with cowards that use PMs to avoid being judged. Comments. Commenter 1. Does everyone forget that you're a single mom with 2 kids and they want to add you 2 more, and babies at that? Tell them to kick rocks. Commenter 2. They're only 5 months old if I read that correctly. Wouldn't it be great if some lovely couple who've been waiting and waiting to adopt could be considered to be their parents? It's very sad if they can't be with bio family, but that's how it worked out. They could still be loved and have a great life. OP is not the asshole. Commenter 3. Kids that young, whose parents died, should be adoptable, rather than going to foster care, well, not long-term foster care. Whoever is their guardian, should be arranging that. It's not OP. My mother has been shaming me since I got married and now is trying to marry out my minor daughters, 1 month later. I can't believe I ever had to make a post about my mother, but here we are. My 45F mother, 71F, have a difficult relationship. My mother was an old-school traditional wife. She was a homemaker, never did any work outside the house, had far more kids than what I think is healthy, 7 girls and 6 boys. She is originally from Guatemala and came to the US when she was 14. She married my father here, had her family here, and tried to make sure myself and my siblings had old-school values. Something she really failed at it. Most of my siblings are as far from my mother as humanly possible. 2 of them sadly passed away. I'm the only one that stayed near to take care of my parents, and since Dad died, I've taken my mother's bills so she can live easy. She's always been a dramatic headache, especially when it came to my marriage. She babied my husband, always took his side. I only wanted 1 kid, but my husband wanted as many as biologically possible. He had told me he also only wanted 1 when we talked about marriage. My mother helped him mess with my birth control, so I got pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my youngest daughter, but after she was born, I secretly had my tubes tied. My mother always berated me for being faulty since I only had 2 children. That's not counting how she berated me for marrying old. I married at 22, she married at 16. My husband was 49 when he died in a car crash recently. We shared 2 daughters, 14 and 16. He was also having an affair with a girl since 2020. The girl was 24 when she died. Together they had twin boys early this year who thankfully survived the crash. My daughters found out the affair first, when their father took them to the hospital to meet the babies and told the girls to keep it secret from me. They didn't, and my husband became abusive towards them and myself. We were in the divorce process when he died. When my husband's affair came out, my mother blamed me. She said it was because I was a working woman that didn't please her husband. That I didn't give him enough children. That I was pretty anymore. I'm not going to say I'm super attractive, but I think I look good for my age. I've kept my weight well enough and I look relatively young for my actual age. But no, according to my dear mother, I wasn't good enough for my husband, who needed a girl closer in age to our daughters than to him. She also was on the group of people angry at me when I refused to adopt my husband's affair children. Her newest crazy is she's trying to find husbands for my daughters. Mainly focused on my eldest. This crazy plan started this week when my eldest came out to us. I had an idea, and I'm happy she felt comfortable enough in this massive mess we're in to still tell me and her sister. My daughter also decided to tell my mother about it. My mother just ended the call. Then called me to scream about how confused and sick my daughter is. She's linked me conversion camps, psychologists that claim homosexuality is a sickness, wackos in my opinion, political articles, etc. She even wanted to see about doing an exorcism. I told her to stop it or she would be in no contact with my in-laws. She stopped for literally 24 hours. Next thing I get is a Facebook message from a man in his mid-20s asking if it was true that I was looking to marry out my 16-years-old daughter. I told him he was sick and blocked him. I got 6 more through the night. Then my mother called saying she found husband prospects for my girls. My high school-aged girls. Angry has been an understatement. She even gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. We're all getting new phone numbers tomorrow and I had the girls put their social medias into private. I don't know what part of the brain is broken in my mother's brain. I had the girls block their grandmother in everything and I'm stopping payments to anything that my mother needs. I know I need to call the cops. I just never thought I would need to call the cops on my own mother. It's been only 2 weeks since I had to cut my in-laws. I'm just exhausted. And please, do not think this is a normal Hispanic thing. It's not. My aunts are amazing women, most of them also homemakers. They are actually on my side of cutting off my mother and calling the cops. They even suggested for my daughters and I to move closer to them in another state. This is just my mother being insane. Small update, we went to the police today and they took all the information I had. The officer we spoke was incredible and immediately helped my lawyer with all that was needed for a temporary RO. We'll be filing it this week and hopefully get it within the month. After we'll focus on a permanent RO. This is on my mother and any third parties on her behalf. The officer was also kind enough to offer to check on us and our house at least once a day. School has also been notified of the situation and one of my brothers is going to come live with my daughters and I until we decide if where when we move. I can't just up and pack everything since I still have a job and my girls are in the middle of the school year. For now we're safe and my girls have new phone numbers. Update, so some good news came out today regarding my mother. As of November 2024 she will be on her own monetarily. There's also an investigation on her regarding what she tried to do to my daughters and a very old investigation reopened about a family matter I can't really speak on for the time being. Because of the charges on my mother, we might get an expedite on that restraining order since there's minors involved, so fingers crossed. The RO will also keep some others from contacting me, mainly in-laws. On other news, after talking to my daughters, the three of us agree we don't really like our house anymore. It makes me a bit sad because it was my childhood home and a gift from my dad, but the reality is there's too much baggage. I look at some places and it feels like the ghost of my husband's infidelity is everywhere. My girls don't like that we're so close to their grandparents and my brother who's moved in with us has been very blunt about the fact that the house is just not worth the stress. So as painful as it is, I'm planning to do some repairs and either sell or rent it out. It's a big house, 9 bedrooms, so far more space than we ever need. I'll be happy with half that so my girls can have their own room and I can have an office. My brother will also stay living with us after we move. Not sure if it's a forever situation, but he's a good support for my eldest daughter when it comes to LGBTQ+ matters. I have to admit I know the bare facts, while my brother is gay and came out almost 30 years ago, he's been a fount of advice about resources and given her advice, especially after my mother's stunt. My youngest has also started to do better. She's back to talking as usual and seems less scared about going out. She's been very excited about looking for a new house with me. She wants the perfect yard. So, we'll see what we can find. My job offered a transfer out of state, also an international transfer but that one is more likely a no for me. So a new beginning will do us good. That's all what I got. Not much actual updates as much as settling my mind on some decisions after reading advice here and talking it through with people in my life. As of November, I'm officially refusing to acknowledge my mother. As far as I know, my parents were gone after my father died. Comments. Commenter 1. She gave them your daughter's numbers. Call the police. Get them new numbers. I would seriously consider taking the aunts up on their offer. She just put your entire family in danger because she has to be in charge. She's already made your life hell, now she's targeting your kids. Full on mama bear time. Commenter 2, with emphasis on the bear part. All teeth and claws. WTF is wrong with your mother, their grandmother? Commenter 3, yeah, this is felony level insanity. Grandma's gone off the chain. Commenter 4, grandma is attempting to sex traffic OP's underage children. Update. Hey everyone, some people have been asking me for updates, and to be sincere, I had nothing until today. To start things, cousins from my ex-husband's side of the family took the boys in. I know them, they are lovely and I know they'll give the twins a great life. The new parents, calling them Matt and Kim, talk to my daughters and let them know if they ever want to reach out to their half-brothers, they just have to call. Otherwise, they can just see them as distant cousins. My girls thanked them, but insisted they don't really want a sibling relationship at this time, but that maybe as cousins it will be okay. I did offer them the money from the shared account since they are family and they said not to worry since they don't need it. Kim even insisted I use that money for a vacation for my girls and I. Apparently I look like the living dead. They also set very strict lines with my in-laws and the parents of my ex's affair partner. They can see the boys, but they won't be seen as grandparents. This apparently caused a big fight with the AP's parents. Matt and Kim then cut them off. Again, threats of suing for grandparents' rights were thrown around, but it went nowhere. That's how I found out why the AP's parents couldn't take the boys permanently. The father is a convicted felon in an abuse case. I won't share the details out of respect, but if what Matt and Kim told me is true, I am glad the boys won't grow up with that man as an example. The only reason his wife had temp guardianship was because of the sudden death of the parents and the process to find a relative to raise the boys. She would have had to live away from her husband to allow permanent custody, and she wasn't willing to do so. My ex-in-laws did figure threats were not going to work, so they agreed to be great-uncles instead. Good for them, I guess. They now want me to let them live with me and the girls since they left assisted living recently and now the place they were in doesn't have opening. This place has a long wait list and the only reason they got in originally was because my ex and I offered to pay 5 years in full. They still had 2 full years paid left and I was going to pay for them. After everything they put my daughters and me through, I rather burn money in a grill than spend it on them. I know they want my girls and I to be their caretakers. I won't even consider it. My daughters have their paths to follow and in all honesty, I want to consider meeting someone new. I know it sounds like I'm moving on too quick, but I've been working to move on since I found out about the affair. I don't think my ex deserves me to go through a mourning period. I already mourned our relationship. At least that's what my eldest daughter said, funny enough. She's been encouraging me to go out and meet someone. We still have that custody lawsuit from my ex-in-laws going and a few other issues that I will update when I have more, but I wanted to at least let everyone know the boys are safe and together. Comments. Commenter 1. You and your daughters sound actually really well adjusted. I'm glad the boys landed in a safe place and can still have some sort of friendly family relationship with their half-sisters. I think this is beyond my best expectations for this event, and I am happy for everyone. Especially for the soon-to-be homeless not in as nice a home ones. D. Reply. They should be well enough monetarily to afford a new place, so they'll be fine. They might be horrid, but if they were to go homeless, I would put the money to at least get them a relatively comfortable facility. It's really up to them what they do now, though. Commenter 2. And best of all, it's 100% no longer your circus or monkeys. D. Anytime you think about helping them out spending money on them, take the cash you'd have spent on them and invest it into savings for your kids. Smiley face. Reply. That's really the plan. My brother and I are talking about some plans for investment, so we'll see how it goes. If it goes well, my girls might have a good start to adult life. Commenter 3. If they were to go homeless, I would put the money to at least get them a relatively comfortable facility. Honestly, I'd rethink this stance. You tried to ensure they weren't homeless before and they still tried to make sure they'd be homeless in order to get you to take them in. They seem like the type that's completely willing to shoot themselves in the foot, repeatedly, if it means a chance at manipulating you. Reply. If they had not received my ex's personal savings and life insurance, I would feel obligated. But they received a lot of money from him. Enough to live comfortable if they don't squander it. Now, if they do squander it, it's on them. Again, the hypothetical scenario would be if they were without means from the get-go. Commenter 4. They squandered 2 fully paid years at the previous place you set them up. I know paying 5 years in advance was a lot of money just to get them a spot quick in any type of retirement community. They are capable of taking care of their needs right now if they act wisely, but they haven't been wise at all. Like they told your girls they had to share a bedroom and move all their stuff when your house has 9 bedrooms. Be for real. They are not here making your life easier. If it was me, if only help them out as much as my children forgive them for their atrocious actions. They are literally nothing to you anymore, but they might be to your kids. Keep all these crazy grandparents away from your babies. They might almost be adults, but they need you the most now. Teens to young adults is so much more in need of guidance than I even thought they would be, and my kids aren't even dealing with close to the steamy crap their father dumped on them. New update. My ex-MIL sent her church friends to harass my daughters and I. I have now exposed her family to her church community and she's getting shamed and shunned at church. My 46F daughters, 17 and 15, have a strained relationship with my ex-husband's parents, 78M and 80F. My ex passed away in an accident last year and we've had some major family drama since due his cheating and him leaving 2 boys born with his affair partner orphaned. She also died. Part of the drama has been my ex-in-laws trying to get custody of my daughters and them also trying to live with us. First one we're going to court over, second one will never happen. Where we live there's a weekend market with fresh produce, eggs, meats, and other products straight from farmers. This week was extra special since it was my youngest birthday. Since her party is later in the month, I decided to give her a budget and set her loose on the market to get whatever she wanted. Mostly chocolate and sweets. After an hour, I did start getting worried, and just before I called her, she called me. She was crying, saying some weird people have cornered her. I ran to her with my oldest daughter to find 6 older women berating my daughter for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her paternal grandparents, or for wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphan baby brothers. My daughters are the ones that found out about my ex cheating and the babies, so they aren't fond of the kids. It's trauma and they are working with a therapist. I got between the group and my daughter, telling my eldest to go pay the stuff her sister had and to go to the car. Then I turned to the women, some who I knew from when we went to my ex-in-law's church, and ripped them a new one. They told me I was worst for refusing to obey my ex-in-laws, like a good Christian wife. Barf. Eventually the screaming turned too loud and we were all asked to leave the market. I met with my girls in the car, the women following me like a group of vultures. I managed to get in the car and drove away. After my girls went to bed, I got online to talk to another member of that church that I'm in good terms. I told him about what happened, and after he apologized, he told me what was going on. My ex-mother-in-law posted this massive story in the church's Facebook group about how horrible my daughters and I are, how we are leaving them homeless and penniless, they inherited my ex's personal bank account and his life insurance, and how my daughters don't even talk to them. She also accused us of being the reasons she lost her grandsons. The boys are now living with distant relatives of my ex-husband. Basically, it was a sob story worthy of a Hallmark movie. And of course, they were getting all the love and support from the more extremist members of their church. This church and its members are a bit annoying, especially with LGBTQ+ topics, but they have a small saving grace. They are incredibly strict about cheating. It's a big no-no, be it from a husband or a wife equally. Now, how did she get around blaming me about affair children without exposing the cheating? She claimed the other woman was our surrogate since I was unable to have more children. Then said I didn't want the babies because they were boys. Which is absolutely disgusting to be accused of. Well, I decided it was time to clean up this mess, and since I was mid-divorce when my ex died, I had all the evidence needed. And since the divorce wasn't completed, I don't have any legal ramification for releasing all the evidence. I was off the next day and went to a print shop to get copies of all the delightful pictures of my ex cheating, his text conversations with his affair partner, the ones with his parents confessing to his cheating and getting support from them, my ex-in-laws harassing me about the divorce, and my coup de grace. All the emails and text messages of them bullying my daughters about their baby brothers. In one of them they call my daughters bastards, and telling them it was their fault their father died since they told me about the affair and I began the divorce. This one was literally 2 days after my ex died. I paid extra for all of this to be printed in beautiful high-quality paper. Then when I got home, I sat down for hours to make delightfully personalized binders. They look like the little prayer song packets the church give for everyone to take to sing hymns. The first picture when opening the binders is my ex and his side woman making out in our living room. Their faces are easy to discern and the girl looks nothing like me. Different skin tones and hair color. Underneath I wrote, ex-husband's name and affair girl's name love story. I took them to the church before service. There's a desk in the back with the song books for people that need forget their own, and they never check them. The gossip mill was quick and harsh. The names my ex and his affair partner got called in the Facebook were so bad the pastor himself had to get involved just to keep things relatively PG-13. People were angry at my ex-in-laws for their abuse to my daughters, but what made me laugh was that I was still in the wrong for the divorce, but it is understandable that I failed on my duties after the shock and I possibly will one day return to the light, unlike my cheating husband and his Jezebel. They used another word I can't use here, I imagine. I got 2 apology letters in the mail for my girl and an invitation to join the church for support. As for my ex-in-laws, they got shamed into leaving the church. My ex-mother-in-law made a post on her wall about how alienated she feels and how no one cares for the elderly anymore. How she wished her great son was still alive since he would have taken care of her and her husband. With what money, I don't know, since I was the breadwinner. Explanation on the will. My ex-husband had a will that named his parents as beneficiaries. As far as I was aware, he had told me he had named our daughters, not them. I never pushed for me to be the beneficiary, as my own will has my daughters as the beneficiaries, not him. Comments. Commenter 1. Hitting religious zealots with proof of hypocrisy is always hilarious. The others will immediately exile them as the public Christian image is too important. Commenter 2. A bunch of old religious women accosting children in a market and shaming them in the name of their religion. This is just straight up fucking Handmaid's Tale shit. America is so broken. The whole story is insane, but the OP doesn't even seem to grasp just how utterly broken society has to have become to allow this 15th century garbage in the first place. Commenter 3. So fun fact, somebody did a study of estranged parent forums and estranged, grown-up, children forums to compare and contrast the attitudes therein. The adults always post vague stories and emphasize the emotions they are feeling, e.g. Ex-child won't talk to me and this makes me feel bad. The children post evidence, e.g. This is why I don't speak to my parents post screenshotted email chain. Commenter 4. It's called missing reasons and it's disturbingly accurate for a lot of people. Yeah. Stories number 2. Aita for confronting my wife's coworker for being rude. This situation happened in the summer but it got brought back up again recently, so I wanted to have unbiased opinions to see if I crossed the line. There are 3 important points I want to state for background purposes before I continue. I, 30M, have my own business. I've also been very fortunate that it's doing amazing and I'm very thankful and blessed it's growing. My wife, 28F, works in a corporate job at a well-known company, which was also her first job out of college, and was recently promoted to director. She has people that report to her and she reports directly to the senior director. My wife and I bought land and had a custom-made forever home built summer of 2023. We were involved in the whole process from designing the house to what furniture we would get. The whole process from the house being built to having it fully furnished took a little over a year. We're extremely proud of how it turned out. We love to host gatherings, so once the house was done, we threw multiple of them throughout the year. My wife wanted to have a barbecue pool party in the summer and wanted to invite her coworkers. Because she was inviting a lot of them, I think around 50, we decided to cater food and outdoor activities like a bouncy castle since some of them will bring their families. Overall, a lot of planning and thought went into this, but my wife was happy doing it. A couple days before the party, she gave some background on some coworkers I've never met. She got to a person named Dick, fake but suitable name, and told me she was her old boss, director of a different department, and always treated her like crap. My wife was moving up the corporate ladder pretty quickly and he wasn't a big fan of it for some reason. She started out in his department but eventually ended up being a director and becoming his equal in terms of position. I asked her why she's inviting someone like that and she said she doesn't want him to feel left out and make their work relationship even worse. I guess she wanted to try and work it out outside of company hours to see if anything changes. But regardless, she asked me to be on my best behavior around him, even if he makes any snide remarks, and she'll handle it. I'm already overprotective of my wife because she's extremely nice and can be a punching bag for some people sometimes, but I told her I'd try my best. On the day of the party, everything was going smooth. Everybody was having a good time by the pool, backyard games, bouncy castle, etc. Dick came around 30 minutes late, but I was the one to greet him at the door while my wife was busy with the guests. I introduced myself to him and ushered him to where the guests were. He was actually nice to talk to while we were talking, but his whole demeanor changed when my wife walked over. It was literally like a switch flipped. I ignored it, but my wife offered the guests who came late a tour of the house. While we were giving the tour, he kept saying something negative about every room we stopped at. For example, we showed the living room and he said, "The ceilings are too high. Why did you guys do that? Kind of pointless to have." Another example, we got the guest pool house in the backyard. He said, "Why did you guys build a guest house? Your house is big enough. It's like you want to show off." He kept making comments like that and made the other guests feel so uncomfortable. I just kept my mouth shut at my wife's request and she would just awkwardly laugh and move the tour along. After the tour was done, we led them to the backyard where everyone else was. Everyone except Dick stayed and he started talking to us. He was asking us questions like, how much was the house? Who paid for most of it? Pretty invasive questions in my opinion. I told him that's information I'm not comfortable sharing, so we moved on. A little bit later, we were eating and talking with other guests. We got into the topic of the house. Someone mentioned they loved the backyard layout and asked who we had designed it. My wife answered saying that we designed everything ourselves. While she was talking, Dick interrupted and said in a very sarcastic tone, "Well, be careful not to ask them how much it was. Apparently it's private information that only the elite share with each other." There was an awkward silence. I honestly had enough because at this point, he's just trying to embarrass her for no reason. I responded, "Is there a problem here? Ever since you came here, you've been rude." He just scoffed and said it just something he wanted to know, and then he kept silent. I pressed him and asked why he would need to know. He didn't say anything and just stared. I told him next time when people are talking, you don't need to involve yourself. When I said that, then he started going on a rant. "I don't know who you think you're talking to like that, but I thought it was odd and wanted to know how wife was able to afford this house on her salary. There's no way she makes enough for this house. Let me guess, you paid for most of it. I cut him off mid-rant and said, I can talk to you however I want. I don't work for you and neither does wife. This is also my wife and I's house and you don't get to disrespect us here. I don't know what issues you have with my wife but it ends here. At this point, and I'm not proud of this, I started getting into his face and continued saying, just because you're jealous of my wife and how has she progressed in her career while you stayed at the same position for however long doesn't give you the right to be an asshole. You can get the fuck off my property before I have to force you. He looked dumbfounded because I guess he didn't expect me to get this close. He responded by saying something along the lines of that my wife slept her way to her position and she slept her way to an easy life where she doesn't have to pay for anything, and we're just flaunting our money in people's faces. That was my breaking point, so I grabbed him by his collar and started pushing him out of the house. When I came back, my wife's close co-workers were consoling her and the others decided it was time to go. When everyone eventually left, my wife told me I didn't have to defend her like that. She's more than capable of taking care of herself. She mentioned that because of my outburst, it's going to make everything awkward at work for her now. I told her I know I shouldn't have done what I did but he was crossing the line. There's only so much I can take. Overall, she's upset that I didn't listen to the one request she had for me, that I let one person ruin the party, and concerned there will be issues at work. Not to mention she's worried I'd get arrested for assault. I told her there's nothing to worry about because she did nothing wrong. She just got up and walked away saying that I don't understand corporate culture. So, Aita in this situation. Top comments. Commenter 1, your wife needs to go to HR. The comments about her sleeping her way to the top need to addressed. He's proven he's not capable of maintaining a polite and professional relationship with your wife, so something needs to be done. Commenter 2, I am curious though. Old Dick has continuously disrespected your wife. He continued to not only disrespect your home, your finances, and your wife's reputation. At what point will your wife handle him? I understand she didn't want to cause a scene, but the more Dick was left unchecked, the worse he became. Commenter 3, I think Dick wants to sleep with your wife. I'd be willing to bet there were sexual advances made by him and she shut him down, leading to his behavior. She just never told you and didn't want you to find out. She's hiding something, or why would she specifically tell you to not defend her from him? Commenter 4, he's obviously the AH. He was pushing all the buttons he could to try and have what happened happen. I don't think you were out of line for not taking his shit anymore, however you should have only addressed his rudeness displayed while at your house. You should not under any circumstances have brought up the stuff your wife told you about him in confidence. You messed up there and owe her an apology. Good luck. Update. Not sure how to update properly, so I left a comment and did a new post as well. Sorry if that's overkill. Also, sorry for the rambling on my post, lol. I reread my post and agree with you guys, I did add some useless info. I'm a better speaker than writer, lol. Also, my wife and I read all the comments and we actually enjoyed reading them. Even though some were kind of mean, she came to the realization that she needed to be more assertive and not be spineless, as some people so generously called her. As I mentioned before, this happened in the summer. The day after everything happened, we both apologized to each other and asked her to give me a full rundown of Dick from when she used to be in his department, because there's no way someone has that much hatred for someone without reason. So he did try to make advances on her when she first joined, but not only her, but a bunch of other female co-workers, some of who were at the party. She shot him down multiple times and went to HR with her co-workers to file complaints, and Dick's behavior did stop. However, he was now having her manager giving a ton of work to do. She was working long hours, but it ended up working in her favor because the other department's manager noticed her workload and her ability to finish it without mistakes and pretty much poached her to join her team. So from then till she got promoted to director, about 6 years, she had very few interactions with him. It's only when she got promoted to director, she was forced to interact. My wife, Dick, and the senior director Tim, would have meetings every morning. She said he never really acted badly towards her, but he would always downplay any suggestions she had or outright ignore it. She thought if she invited him to the party, maybe that would change his behavior and bury the hatchet. She realizes that it was really stupid to assume that would happen. My wife did tell me that when she saw everyone at work, they told her not to worry, and a bunch of them were happy someone finally did something to him. Some were hoping for more but happy regardless. She said that made her feel better because she thought they would see her in a bad light, which I don't know why, but my wife is an overthinker. She wrote a complaint to HR for harassment against Dick and he did the same thing, but against me. HR didn't do anything for either of them. She got an email saying because this happened off of company property and this was not a company-sponsored event, no action needs to be taken by the company and any disputes that happen needs to be taken care by the individual. She was worried that Dick would sue or call the cops but nothing happened in a month so we assumed he just gave up on it. During the meetings, Dick would just stay quiet after my wife spoke as opposed to giving condescending remarks like he usually did. I haven't seen or spoken to Dick since the party but my wife asked me to come to the company Christmas party where I saw Dick but he ignored us. I met Tim and when my wife introduced me, he said something along the lines of, "Thanks for coming. Please don't drag me across the room. I'm very nice to your wife." My wife and I burst out laughing and I realized Dick had become the butt of the jokes. Apparently, people at work started doing a collar-grabbing motion behind Dick's back. The reason it got brought up again recently was because my wife told me a couple days ago that he put his 2 weeks in. I joked we should throw a party but she felt bad because she feels like he quit because of her. I told her that she didn't do anything wrong and anything that happened to Dick after the party was on him. Nothing would have happened if he just kept his mouth shut. She understands but she still feels bad. My wife is a very empathetic person, even to people who don't deserve it. So might not be the ending some of you were hoping for but it worked out for us. We still joke around about being dragged across the room here and there but overall, everything ended the best way for us. Stories number 3. My coworker, 18M, put me, 22F, on a "hear me out" cake and posted it online. Do I take action in some way? I work at a diner as a waitress with this kid, let's call him John. John has always seemed pretty chill and busses my tables. Sometimes we chat if we are closing together, usually about school, as he started college not too long ago and I am almost graduated with my BA. Ultimately, we are friendly but not friends. Last week he said that he was part of a group chat with a handful of other coworkers on Instagram and asked if I wanted to join. I said sure because I haven't connected with people at the diner that well and figured it was worth a shot. We swapped Instas. The group chat is very normal, friendly banter between coworkers. Yesterday, I see that John posted a reel of him and a couple of his buddies doing their take on a "hear me out" cake, which is usually a very light-hearted and funny way of saying you would get with what are typically fictional and mostly animated characters. The entire cake adhered to that concept, except toward the end, when my face, a picture that he must have screenshotted from one of my posts, is stuck on the cake. I was the only real person on that cake, and John actually made a comment about how attractive I was and that he wished that he could hit that, but doubts he has a chance. I feel insanely grossed out and kind of violated. I want the video taken down, but I'm not sure if I have the right or authority to do that. I ranted about this to my sister, and she told me to just take it as a compliment and be glad that someone thinks I am pretty. It feels wrong doing that. Is this grounds for taking this issue to higher ups? I don't know if I am comfortable working with him at the moment. Do I just take care of this myself and tell him that it makes me uncomfortable and I want him to take it down? It is a public video. I am just uncertain how to move forward. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Go up to him at work and say, "Hey, can you delete that video you made about me? The one where you printed a picture of my face and put it on a cake, it's really fucking weird." Commenter 2. Yeah, this is the way. A shameless, direct approach out in the open with minimal reaction, that serves to call him out and makes him feel like a weirdo. Objectively, it is a very weird thing to do. It was a joke. That's a pretty creepy and weird joke, don't you think? Best case scenario, he takes it down and realizes he's blown any chance he thought he had with you because you think so little of him that he can't even get a reaction out of you. Worst case, he doesn't take it down, and I say report him at work. Commenter 3. If it was an attempt to flirt, it was a bad one. Hear me out, cakes are not just people I would hook up with, but characters that are so far out of the typical standard, moral, beauty, etc., that you need to hear my reasons defending why I would want to hook up with them. I'm sure you're a lovely human and this guy is just an idiot, but anyone saying being on this cake should be taken as a compliment, I believe you mentioned your sister saying this, is incorrect. Commenter 4. You don't have to be nice to creepy, inappropriate men, nor do you have to care about his feelings. Tell him you want the video removed and from now on be civil and polite to him but you don't have to be kind, friendly, or nice in the future. Commenter 5. Men, please do not post your fantasies online. We see them and are repulsed. No one is flattered by you wanting to hit that. Personal thoughts should stay personal. OP was sexual harassed by a dumb guy whose friends convinced him this would be a great way to see if she was interested. OP, I'm so sorry. Just block him from your Insta, stop following him and get out of the group chat. Ask him to take the video down and then stop talking to him, he hopes you are flirting with him and is taking it that way. Treat him like a small child who has overstepped boundaries. Commenter 6. Leave a comment under the post that says, gross. Then stop talking to him. Update. Hi. If this is how you do an update, but this is how I am doing it. So, I screen recorded the video and sent it to my manager. We are on good terms and I was hoping that she would understand and we could rework the schedule so that I don't have him bussing my tables and we won't have to interact. She said this is very odd and may be a violation of conduct. She told me not to stress about the details and that she would take care of it. I am very grateful with how seriously she took it. She had moved me around so that I will not have to see him as much and I only have a handful of times since then. He has avoided eye contact with me entirely. Once my manager was aware of the video, I'd met John on Insta saying, "The video you made in which you put my face in a hear me out cake for social media is gross and unprofessional. We are co-workers. I did not greenlight being posted online and sexualized like that. I have talked with manager about the situation and my discomfort and would like you to take the video down. You used my image without my consent." He responded and apologized, saying that he and his friends were drunk and that he made that video on a whim. He told me he thought I was cool and wouldn't have a problem with it. He said he would take it down but never once actually said sorry, just gave those excuses. It was deleted. He has been having to take an online course about sexual harassment and workplace misconduct or something like that. Something probably meaningless, but at least it is slightly a pain in the ass. The only thing now is that he has busboy buddies that side-eye and kind of glower at me because of the action I took. On the bright side, they probably won't fuck with me like that. Anyway, thanks to anyone reading. I am not sure if anyone will see this, but the comments on the last post were mostly helpful and I am grateful for the perspective that you guys provided, so thanks. Notable comments. Commenter 1. The whole "it was some stupid drunk" thing is such BS. He had to take so many steps to get your pic ready for that. You did the right thing, and thankfully it's not like this is your forever job. Here's hoping he won't be such a jackass next time he's got a crush on someone. Commenter 2. Yeah, pretty laughable that making a somewhat elaborate baked good and a short film about it is waved away as impulsive. Commenter 3. Literally. And screenshotting an image, printing it off, taping it to a stick, like there's so many steps that a drunk person would not be able to complete it. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my kid's mom that her husband can't have my kids while she's deployed. Tagline says it all. But here's some context. I, 36M, have 2 kids with my ex, 9 and 11. We've been divorced for 3+ years and she remarried 2+ years ago. We have legit 50-50 custody and split everything down the middle pretty well. We have built a good routine for co-parenting and things have been smooth for the last few years without any hostility. If ever a time in the past where she had to leave for work she would ask me to watch them full time in her absence, which you always do, happily. A few weeks ago she found out she's deploying for 6 months overseas and asked if while she was gone her husband could keep the same routine 50-50. I said no, that I had assumed I would have full responsibility of them. This upset them and it's been a huge discussion ever since. She says I'm not thinking of the kids, their stability, their happiness. I argue that I disagree and that what parent wouldn't want the opportunity to have them full again even if for a temporary time. I tried to explain that just because they are with me that I won't cut their other lives out completely. They don't want to hear it. The husband tries to make demands, every solution I've come up with doesn't work for him and I clearly the bad guy to them. I want to add that our custody agreement even states I get them if she deploys and we live in California. So even though I don't think I'm in the wrong here, Aita, edit, I want to clarify the biggest question that seems to be asked and the reason some feel I am TA. I have not told my kids about their mother deploying. I do not feel this is my position to. She will tell them when she is ready and I am respecting that. Of course I want to talk to my children about this and see what they think. I am trying my best to think of their stability, needs, and best interest. Stories number 5. Aita for taking all my mom's photos from dad's house and asking his new wife why it's any of her fucking business. My dad got married last month and his wife only moved in a week after the wedding. They were long distance for 3 years. I, 17M, still live at home for now but I plan to move out this summer. When my dad's wife moved in she told my dad she didn't want to see any photos of my mom around the house, that it was supposed to be her home and she could not make a home with those memories on display. She needed to know she was his wife, not just his second wife. So the photos came down. My dad was going to store them so he offered to let me take whatever photos I wanted since they just gathered dust according to him. I took them all. Not some, not 1 or 2, I took them all and my grandparents are keeping them safe for me. Dad's wife had no issue with me taking the ones I wanted until I wanted them all. Then she asked me why I was taking them all and I asked her why it bothered her so much. She said one or two made sense, but it felt like a big fuck you to her that I was taking them all and couldn't stand the idea of the others going into indefinite storage. I told her it sounded like she was planning to throw them out once our backs were turned, and she got pissed and told me I was insulting her by taking them all. I got mad and asked her why it's any of her fucking business and who is she to tell me what I can and can't do. My dad told her I was told I could take whatever, and she said she hadn't realized I'd take every one of them. Then she said I insulted her in her own home and asked Dad why I had such an attitude toward her. I told her she was the one who interfered when she wasn't asked to. That became another fight and Dad told us to cool off. She's still annoyed that I took them all and still feels like it was a fuck you to her. She also said I was beyond rude to curse at her and ask her why it was her business, as if to say she doesn't also live here and isn't my family now. Aita. Stories number 6. I believe I may have caused the end of my friend's marriage. My buddy, 42M, I've known since middle school, and his wife have 2 kids. They've been married for 16 years. Apparently he's had a very low sperm count for years and they were quite lucky to conceive twice. Regardless, this past Saturday they're over our house with another couple for dinner and we're all laughing and the conversation is light, and his wife asks us this hypothetical. Say your husband asked you for a paternity test. Would you give him one? I know my wife's stance on this. She is strongly against accusing women of infidelity under the guise of these tests. So I beat her to it and said laughing, if I ever asked, and I never would, she would probably get me positive results within a day or two stapled to divorce papers, and that would be that. But I would never ask, because I love and trust my wife and know there's never any doubt. I think if you're the guy asking, your marriage is already probably screwed, and you're killing time till one of you finally starts the ball rolling on divorce. Well, guess who didn't realize that was not a fun, harmless hypothetical, but in fact a shotgun, loaded question pointed right at me? Yep, yours truly. Turns out my buddy's wife is 9 weeks along, and he, knowing his count is very low, just needed to make sure. Big mistake, man. She was willing to give him the confirmation, upset he would question it though. My comments were like gasoline on a bonfire, and from what my wife just texted me, they may be separating over this issue. I texted them both to say I was so sorry and didn't meant to imply anything, and every situation has nuance, is unique, etc., but I doubt it helped at all. Guys, why are you asking this question to your wives of many years? Just sad all around, and now their 3rd child may be born into a one-parent household. He could have started with the urologist to find out if his count had improved. So many options before accusing his wife of cheating. Stories number 7. Aita for letting my son call my best friend Dad. My 30M relationship with my wife Sam, 29F, has been rocky since our son Oliver was born 2 years ago. She got pregnant just a few months after we got married and things were fine up until Oliver's delivery. I assume it was postpartum depression. Sam never sought out a specific diagnosis, but after he was born it was like she just couldn't care less about our child. We hadn't planned to have children so early into our marriage and it was scary, but I can't describe to you the all-encompassing love that comes with being a parent. The fear was worth it for me. It still is and always will be. Throughout Oliver's life, but especially that first year, I was essentially acting as a single parent. The only help I had, and I don't mean for that to sound diminishing because this man is a godsend, was my best friend, Matt, 33M. The plan was for Oliver to be breastfed, but my wife had no interest in it after he was born. I was the one changing diapers and mixing up formula for bottles, and being in the house we shared felt so oppressive. Like the joys of bonding with my son were being sucked out of me because of the energy there. So I would take Oliver to Matt's. I don't want to ramble on for too long, but there have been exactly 0 times in life where Matt hasn't shown up for me. I've known him since I was 19 and can safely say that even after all that time. But this is the most wonderful thing he's given me. I could sleep soundly knowing my baby would be taken care of. I had a place of refuge. He is so good with Oliver and is my shoulder to cry on. I don't think I'll ever be able to repay him, but I'm definitely trying every single day. Things with my wife have kind of started to look up, but recent events have sent us in a huge downward spiral. Oliver was having some speech delays, but he's been really picking things up as his 3rd birthday nears. He's babbled Dad Ada towards Matt and I for a while now, but Daddy has since been added to his vocabulary, and that is used to refer to us both. I have never corrected him. I checked in with Matt to make sure he was fine, and he said he was honored to be bestowed with such a title. Sam got to hear this recently when I was on FaceTime with Matt and she basically went ballistic. As much as I hate to admit it, I did say he was more of a parent than she had been, which, while true, is hurtful. I need outside opinions on this. Aita for allowing him to call him Dad. Top comments. Highest rated comment. I think you are going to get lambasted for this one. I'm going with NTA for me, however. I have been hospitalized previously for depression and I think it's amazing my now wife stayed. Shit gets rough out there but everyone gets to be happy. That includes you. Soft toss on ask yourself if you are in love with Matt. Seems like you act as a couple. No judgment, but leave if it's what you want. Edit. Wow, surprised people are super upset about asking a dude to think about his feelings. Also, commenters, try to call out your own bias. I am a queer male who happened to fall in love with a woman and have beautiful children. Guys, sounds like how I acted before I was honest with myself and open with others. LOL, just because some of us are in heterosexual lives relationships doesn't mean we don't understand, haven't gone through stuff like this. Reply. I don't think anyone would be asking OP to examine their feelings if OP were a woman describing a friendship with another woman. People need to stop the sexist assertion that men cannot be emotionally close and vulnerable with one another. Not only is it perfectly acceptable and healthy for two men to have an emotionally close friendship, but it should be more normalized so men feel more comfortable forming close connections with their buddies. Another reply. Lesbian speaking, totally sounded like he was going to say in the next paragraph they fell in love but haven't figured it out yet, shocked I didn't. Also speaking up, since I'm a woman, I don't feel that commenters, respectfully gentle, question was coming from a sexist place lol. I'd too assume the same of two women if one of them was saying things like, my safe space and shoulder to cry on. But TBH, even more wholesome that they're just brothers LMAO, good dad vibes all around. I'm just surprised it seemed immediately sexist to others. Someone asked, info. I feel like there's a lot missing from your wife's side of things. Does she literally do nothing? Does she work? Are you doing all the doctor's appointments, grocery shopping, cooking meals, housekeeping, waking up through the night for your son, getting clothes, going to the park, etc.? Have you talked to your wife about what's going on? Encouraging seeing a therapist? Encouraging outing, spending time with her son? Or do you just go off to Matt's place every chance you get? Reply. She works from home during the day. I don't work and we have enough money put back, thanks to help from my parents, that I don't need to while Oliver is this age. She does the grocery shopping as well. Everything else is all me, although Matt does help significantly with the cooking. She's extremely hands-off with him. I've tried to be encouraging, but at some point I feel like the responsibility to seek him out and create a bond with him is on her. I've suggested she look into things before and she's brushed me off. Someone replied to that. Dude, you need to do more than suggest she see a therapist. You need to insist. This is no kind of way to live. Reply. I feel stuck. I don't want to push too hard and send her into kind of tailspin. I don't want to fully remove myself from the situation for the same reason. Another Redditor's reply. I had severe postpartum depression. It was the lowest I've ever felt in my entire life. My ex-husband was not supportive, he didn't even catch it, my mother did. Even with medication, it took me a year to feel like any semblance of myself. It's been 14 years and I'm still on medication, because I fear feeling that way again. And it destroyed my marriage to have so little support from my ex. The worst part about it was how awful I felt as a mother in person because I was having trouble bonding and everyone acted like it was something that was instant. It wasn't for me. The low blow you gave her of the insult physically pained me to read. YTA for that comment. Where your wife is, and what she's feeling, is nowhere I'd wish on my greatest enemy. You've asked her if she wants therapy, it's time to tell her it's necessary, or even to call her doctor and talk to them. If you care about your wife, have any compassion for her, and any regard for your son having a relationship with his mother, keep trying. I know you're tired, you're resentful, but please trust me that she's in a pit of despair. I think you could both use some professional help at this point. Good luck. ETA, thank you for the likes and award, everyone. I hate seeing two people suffer, and let me be clear, both mom and dad are suffering. I'm not discounting what he's been going through. Severe depression is hard on more than just the actual patient, and sincerely hope they can both get help. Reply. Thank you for sharing this. I'm going to take some time to cool off and try to collect myself, then suggest treatment again. A Redditor asked, OP, I have been reading this thread and feel like I can understand both yours and your wife's perspective. But, if comfortable, can you answer this question? Have you and Matt engaged in any physical, sexual activity together? It could be anything as small as hand-holding and cuddling to something more. There's no judgment from me, I am trying to better understand the emotional component of your friendship. Replies. Definitely zero sexual activity. We have cuddled before. We hug a lot. Comfort through words is nice, but feeling someone's physical presence is also very important and very healing. Didn't think it was possible to be so touch-starved when I have a toddler crawling over me 24/7, but I cling on to those physical touch moments. And I cuddle him a lot to express my gratitude over the way he's done so much for me over the years, and now my son. OOP replies to another question about his and his wife's sex life. My wife and I aren't very physically affectionate these days. I was prepared for this in some ways as I had heard that sex lives tend to fall to the wayside after a woman gives birth even after the baby starts sleeping through the night. Still, I hadn't been anticipating nearly 3 years to be spent like this. My attempts at initiating physical affection either feel like they're simply tolerated or rejected altogether, which is fine. Like I've said, my focus is on my son. It is nice every now and then, though, to be close to someone. Edit, spelling. Another answer from OOP to a question. For one, I'm not having explicit sexual fantasies about my friend and never claimed to be. I also would prefer not to discuss my sexual fantasies on Reddit, even anonymously. I've known him for over a decade and we have had many conversations over the course of those 10+ years. I'm not preying on my friend. Communication between he and I has never been a problem. He's a big boy, he can tell me if he feels gross. I appreciate the concern on his behalf, but it's unnecessary and runs on the assumption that I'm getting off on cuddling my friend, which is, maybe something a teenage boy might do. I'm 30, replied, Esh. Reading through your responses, I think that you, Matt, and your wife are living in limbo. No one is quite willing to break the egg. I'm not going to bring up sexuality issues because it's irrelevant, but the fact is you and Matt are essentially behaving as a couple. Who wouldn't be? Your wife has withdrawn from the relationship, sexually and emotionally. Your wife is struggling and refuses to get help, but she is also becoming resentful because she's increasingly becoming the outsider looking in. Matt is putting his life on hold to support you. Could he honestly have his own primary partner and still spend all the time he spends with your family? If your wife shapes up and gets help, you do realize that Matt has to step back to give your wife space to fully become a mother and wife. How do you feel about that? You say you ask her to get help, but it's rather telling that there are no ultimatums because, well, Matt has allowed you to be comfortable in this no man's land. You are hiding behind your wife's passivity. The three of you need to talk about what a future looks like. You owe it to yourself to live honestly. Maybe you three become a poly household. Maybe you two get divorced. Either way, the status quo is untenable because at least one of you is unhappy. Reply to that. With my wife I have built up more resentment than I previously realized. Her being involved with me and my son the way she's supposed to would be ideal, but I think I need to work on myself first. Right now I feel like too little, too late. Which I acknowledge isn't productive or good for Oliver, so I need to work on forgiveness. Edit, this was poorly worded. I meant what I want for him more than anything is to be happy. Meaning my specific wish for Matt is to be happy, not my wish in general over my care for my son. Subreddit Flare. I never thought I'd be back with an update this soon, or that this would be the update. I came home Thursday with a plan to talk to my wife. I texted her in advance so I was able to jump right in when I arrived. As suggested to me in the comments of the OP, I was vulnerable. I told her I was feeling exhausted and worn down. I said frustration had built up with her being so uninvolved. I said I wanted to see real, major change in the way she interacts with Oliver within the next 2 months or an ultimatum of her getting help divorce would be given. I also made it clear that if she wanted to get help now and not wait those 2 months, that was also acceptable. I would assist her however she wanted, but I wanted to see some initiative being taken for our child. At first, I was met with anger. Eventually we were able to have a genuine conversation where she admitted that she didn't feel maternal at all. She felt I had pushed her too hard to have Oliver when she got pregnant, and she often wonders what our life would be like she had made a different choice. Obviously this was all hard for me to hear. Resentment was building up on both sides, but did it have to build for nearly 3 years? I can't help but feel like it was mostly her responsibility to bring up this conversation. My frustration was over her treatment of our son. Her frustration was over us having a son at all. I can't even fathom a world without Oliver in it, while she was pondering what our life looks like if he never existed. It's been a few days since the conversation, and I'm still feeling a lot. I feel sad for her. I'm very angry for my son and I that the last 3 years could have looked different, saved us from so much pain and exhaustion and negative emotion. It doesn't feel fair. She and I are going to start the divorce process soon. I'm hoping that it will remain civil. I called my parents to update them on the situation. They've been unconditionally supportive of me and were ready to jump into action mode to help. They will financially support us for the time being, and offered us a place to stay. Matt and I discussed it and we don't think that's a viable option. Oliver is already going through a big life change, so taking him out of state to a house he's unfamiliar with would be harmful. It would also complicate things during the divorce. We're moving in with Matt. On top of all the practical reasons why it makes sense, Matt expressed that he would hate for us to be so far from him that anywhere he is would always be a home for Oliver and I. We still have a lot of things to pack, but we've been here since that conversation. Oliver was already used to life here, so the transition has been smooth. I have a lot of emotions to work through and plan on starting therapy soon. Edit, the mentions of coercion and force are ridiculous. Sam has never said outright that she didn't want a child. In fact, we had conversations prior to marriage about starting a family together. It was just never planned that it would happen so early into our marriage. She was scared about having him so early, and I did my best to assuage those fears by reassuring her, but always giving the option for her to have an out should she want it. There was never the expectation put upon her that she needed to have the baby. Top comment, this is actually really sad. There's nothing wrong with not wanting children, but when the child is there you have to make some tough decisions. Sounds like you guys made the right one for your son, before he starts to notice his mom's emotional absence. I wish you and Oliver, and Matt, all the best, and I'm sure Oliver will flourish in a home where he feels nothing but loved, smiley face. Reply, thank you. It's a whirlwind of emotions for me right now, good and bad. Matt is going super dad mode and making sure Oliver and I feel as comfortable as possible. I personally think he deserves all the good things in life. Winning the lottery. Daily massages. A forever cold side of the pillow. Etc. Another top comment, update us when you begin dating your friend. Editor's note, there are a lot of highly upvoted comments here accusing OOP of having an emotional affair with his best friend, coercing his wife into having a child, and basically calling him an asshole. In my opinion, we don't know enough to assess, as we only have his side of the story. Last update, shared mannerisms with non-biological parent, 23 days later, almost 1 month after first post. Subreddit Flare, family life. My son has been raised by me and my best friend turned partner since he was a tiny infant. For all intents and purposes, my partner is his dad despite them not being blood related. Some days, though, I would swear they are. They obviously don't share any physical features, but the mannerisms my son has picked up from my partner always make my heart clench when I notice them. They have the same laugh. They both chew on their bottom lip when they're thinking hard about something, or pretending to be thinking hard when we're playing. They both have a very specific one leg in, one leg out position they assume under blankets when we have movie nights. I see him in my son's little facial expressions all the time now that he's gotten older. My partner's mom even commented on it in a private moment between she and I. Prior to that, it was something I had kept to myself thinking I was the only one who noticed it. It might not be noticeable to strangers, but those closest to us see their similarities and that's enough for me. Definitely an "I'm so lucky" dad moment for me. Replied, that's how it was and is with my husband and my oldest daughter. He came into her life at age 3. She's now 25. He did adopt her legally when she turned 9. One moment will forever live in my memory. We were on our way somewhere and we were talking about a mannerism of hers. I made a comment like, I wonder where she got that from. He immediately responded and said, me. Who else? I looked at him and said, you're not blood related, remember? His response will always and forever say just how much he loves this child. He said, oh yeah. I always forget. I hit the jackpot with him. They're 2 peas in a pod. Even people who didn't know that she's not blood related have mentioned how much she looks like him. We just agree and smile. Replies, he sounds incredible. I feel similarly about the jackpot winning. Both of us need to steer clear of Vegas slots, we've already cashed in on our once-in-a-lifetime wins. Another Redditor replied, this is me and my step-daughter. We are just so much alike, and even look quite a bit alike too. People are always a bit taken back when they realize she's not my natural. Replies, ah. That's incredibly sweet. My son and my partner don't look wildly different and they have the same dark hair, so I'm sure there are assumptions made when they go out together alone. Still, I don't think anyone would be shocked to find out they're not biologically related, so those little moments I shared about in my post hit me hard. Stories number 8. Extra good news final update, Aita for kicking out my mom's boyfriend. When I was 17 my mom came into money. She tried to keep it quiet but she paid off my dad's debts, bought him a small house, paid off her debts and paid for my sister's college and set up funds for mine. She had a boyfriend at the time and shortly after him and his son who was 7 moved into our new house. Over the next few years mom bought my sister a house after she graduated college. Her boyfriend lived with us and didn't pay anything but he did work. When I was 21 mom got diagnosed with cancer. It wasn't good. She sat me and my sister down and went over exactly how much money there was. She intended to give her current house to me and both me and my sister were left with a large sum at the end of it. She asked if I would allow her boyfriend to stay in the house with his son until he got his own place. I agreed. Before she died she told her boyfriend he would need to look for his own place but had time to save more for that journey. For the last 4 years he has continued to reside in the house with his son. I haven't minded because we get along okay. I pay all the bills but he does buy food for him and his kid. He has dated off and on and mostly kept the women out of this house, which I respected him for. Until his current partner. She's been in my house 3 times and at first, besides feeling a little uncomfortable, I was okay with her. The last time this past weekend was the point where I lost my shit. I was making myself some lunch when she came walking downstairs. She grabbed a plate and went to grab food out of my pan. I asked her what she thought was doing. She started telling me how I should look for somewhere else to live and leeching off my dead mom's past relationship as an adult was pathetic. I hollered for my mom's old boyfriend. He came down and I told him I didn't know what he current thing thought, but I wasn't going to be disrespected in my house. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes as he mumbled something about my mom promising him the house and he was just being kind, letting me stay. First, that isn't remotely true. Mom pulled him and I together after she asked if he could stay to set expectations. My mom met him shortly before she won the money and told him and us girls that she had no intention of leaving him money. She did set aside a fund for his son for college when he gets there, but he cannot touch it, only his son can. He has lived in this house almost 8 years without paying a dime. He should have plenty of money, and if he doesn't, that's on him. I told him he had 30 days to leave. I wasn't going to house someone who would lie and disrespect me in my house. He left that night with his son, but his ex-wife called to tell me I am cruel and an for her son losing his house. He is here every other week. I really feel like my mom didn't expect him to still be here, but my sister said she feels like I am breaking my promise to my mom, and that made me feel like maybe I am the Sum of comments. Commenter: if it happened exactly how you said, you're not the asshole. If she did say he had time to save, but would need to look for his own place, that means she never imagined or wanted him staying for long. So you're breaking no promises. Did she leave him any money or assets? It's totally possible that your mother would be livid if she knew her boyfriend was still living with her son after 4 years. Reply: no, she created a fund for his son for his college, but that was the only money set aside for him or his son. It's a generous amount, enough for 4 years at a high-dollar school. Anything not used for school will be given to him on his 25th birthday from what I believe she told me. A lawyer and accountant are in charge of those funds, not me or my sister, so I only know what she told us before she died. She was never married to or even engaged to her boyfriend. He lived with his sister and was saving for his own house when Mom met him. Him moving in with us was supposed to be temporary and allow him to save to buy his dream home, but he never left. My mom was like that, though she had a big heart, and sometimes people took advantage of that, especially after the money. She bought him a brand new truck when his car broke down, but beyond that and smaller gifts, like TV, computer, etc. for birthdays and holiday gifts, she did not leave him money. They had no joint accounts. My mom paid everything and he was supposed to be saving for a house the whole time they were together. Commenter: guessing to the Miss Thangs, over the years he's lived rent utility free in OP's house. I'm also giving the stink eye to the sister laying the guilt trip on OP for evicting him. Reply: I don't think my sister meant any harm. Probably feels a little sad like me that his son won't be around. I don't expect we will get to visit with the kid. He's 15, and we both like him and have known him a while. The 3 of us gamed together some over the years and usually did an outing once every month or 2 to arcades or amusement parks or something like that together. Commenter: I'm curious just how long your sister thinks he and son should be allowed to freeload off you. She doesn't have the warm fuzzies for him, does she? Reply: no, but she's kind of a pushover like our mom was. Super kind-hearted, but to a fault. Heck, maybe I am too, to an extent. I just don't put up with disrespect. Commenter: was his GF shocked and believed him, or was she trying to start the takeover, or at least try to? It's possible he lied to her, but it's also possible she knew but was wanting to come in and take over. It happens all the time. I would hire movers if they left anything. Do not let them back, and it could be hell getting them out. Lucky they left. Reply: she seemed smug the whole time, so I suspect she put him up to it because he and I always got along before this. He didn't argue when I kicked him out. He did text me and asked to come by this weekend to get his stuff and asked if I would be willing to talk. I told him my dad and boyfriend will be here and he agreed to that. How GF reacted when she found out. She sat with her arms crossed when he and I talked, but she didn't say anything else. She left with him. Longer comment: thank you so much. My mom was the sweetest person, and when I was a teenager I feel like I was a nightmare to her. I am thankful I was much better in my late teens and 20 and 21, so she got to see me mature a little before she passed. I wasn't always the best daughter, but she was always the best mom. I think part of letting him stay so long is having bonded with his son, but also I liked having someone else around who loved my mom too. There were nights I would wake up from a nightmare and end up in the kitchen, and he would hear me and just come make a cup of coffee and sit and share a story about her. His son loved mom too, and some evenings we would get takeout and watch movies and joke about what commentary my mom would have had if she had seen the movie with us. My sister lives a state away, so we only really see each other once a month or so. I like not being alone in this big house. I do have a security system and the locks have been changed. He is coming over tomorrow to get his stuff. To a detailed accusation that this is a creative writing prompt. Neither me nor my sister were teenagers when my mom passed away. I was the youngest at 21. And the funds have been in a trust, but it wasn't related to this story, and the character limit made me already limit things I said. I won't have full access to the funds left to me until I am 30, but I can request additional access through the trustees and I get monthly funds for bills and spending. My mom paid for people to manage both me, my sister's, and her boyfriend's son's trust. Yes, his college fund is in a trust as well, thus why his dad has no access to it. Personally, I love Reddit. This is a throwaway because I don't want to dox myself, and my actual account has photos of myself and my pets. But no one in my real life knows about the money except family, and my mom's boyfriend doesn't even know how much money, just that there was money. Not even my boyfriend knows. Edit to add, journey was my mom's words to her boyfriend when we all sat down, which is why I used that word. She was super into historical fiction romance novels, and she used some old phrasing in real life sometimes because of it. My sister and I used to tease her for it all the time. Update post. I know the other sub is very subjective on updates, so I figured I would post it here. I do want to take a moment to address some things I saw in the comment. 1. There are trusts set up and neither me nor my sister has full access to the money left us. This was done both because my sister and I were in our early 20s when my mom died, and she wanted to make sure we had some stability before we had access, and to protect us from people who may try to take advantage, especially while we were grieving. 2. I have a lawyer. He has already informed me legally to my area what eviction laws are, and my mom's former boyfriend will be served with formal eviction papers just to cover myself even after today. So to the update. My dad came over, decided not to have my boyfriend over since he doesn't know about the money side, and I wasn't trying to have the boyfriend out the situation, this morning, and brought along my cousin. For easier telling, I'm going to call mom's former boyfriend Chuck. Chuck showed up about 10 a.m. my time and talked to my dad, then asked if he could have a couple of minutes alone with me. Dad nodded, so my cousin and him went into the kitchen and Chuck and I sat in the living room. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to go as it had, but I am glad it did. Chuck started with an apology. I don't remember all of the words said, but the basics were he missed my mom, he has been lonely but not alone thanks to me and his son. He was sorry for what had happened, that he got caught up in lust and let someone else fill his head with ideas, and that he owned up to his mistakes and should have never put up with someone who would disrespect me or my mom's memory. He tried to hand me a cashier's check for $15,000. He said it wasn't much, but he wanted me to know he appreciated me and living with me, and that he wanted to pay back some of what he owed. I refused the check, both in part because I never wanted his money, but I also don't want to give any possible legal leg for him to stand on if this is somehow him trying to stay. I told him the first part and told him to put it towards a house. He told me he is living with his sister but is going to look at houses with a realtor next week. He did say his son is asking about our next hangout date and said both me and my sister are welcome to arrange time with him. After all of that, my dad and cousin helped him get all the stuff out of the house that he owned. He had brought a U-Haul, and he gave me back my house keys. He apologized again and left. Not what I expected. But it went really well and I feel a lot less like I let my mom down. Sum of comments. Commenter: I'm just being nosy, sure, but how did the woman who thought she's getting you kicked out of your house respond to it all? Reply: no clue. At my house she just seemed smug and bitchy. I didn't ask Chuck about her and honestly don't care. My house is nice, but it's not like it's multi-million dollars or anything. Replies to a deleted comment. All of the "he is coming for your house" comments on my post kind of made me paranoid. Much happier with how he handled things, even if the check made me a little paranoid too. Commenter: where did all the money your mom got come from? Was it an inheritance? And about how much did she get? Seems like a lot to buy so much. Reply: I won't disclose any of that and it's 100% irrelevant to the judgment of the topic at hand. Update post 2. Previous posts on my profile I am too lazy to link. This is probably going to be my last update unless something unexpected happens, but I thought I would just give a quick update on Chuck. So Chuck called me last week and again yesterday. He put an offer on a house and yesterday got accepted. They expected close date is early next month, but I am very proud of him. I know everyone expected more drama, and honestly some of the comments had me worried, but it's been really good. He thanked me a lot for letting him have so much time here, offered me some money one more time for his time here, which I again declined, but I did offer to help him move in when the time comes. Moving sucks. He put down almost half for a down payment, so he definitely was saving money during his time here, and I'm glad everything that happened was an encouragement for him to get into a home of his own. I talked to his son yesterday after he got out of school. We are going to play laser tag this weekend with my sister and he is excited for the new house too. Final update post. Title: Final update. kicked mom's boyfriend out. I didn't expect to come back, but I had a surprise this past weekend and I thought I would share some positives. So first off, Chuck got his house. He closed and moved in this past week. He invited me over on Saturday to see the house and told me he had something for me. So some background on my mom. Mom was an amazing, kind woman. She was also heavyset and very self-conscious. Most of the photos I have of her are Snapchat pictures she would send. She hated pictures of herself and she absolutely refused to pose for a camera. I have made many comments since she passed that I worry I won't remember what she looked like since so many photos I have are either old or filtered. So back to present day, Chuck invited me and my sister over and showed us his new place. He thanked us for being amazing people and then he handed us each a photo album. Guys, he had hundreds of photos of my mom printed off for each of us. He told us he hated that she filtered her photos and he has secretly been taking photos of her their whole relationship because he loved the real her. He had snagged photos of us with her at the zoo, photos of her on vacations, photos of her napping, photos of her during hikes. Both me and my sister were bawling looking through these pictures of mom we never knew we needed. He had put some little card notes for dates of each photo and some descriptions on some. He managed to capture her smiling and laughing, things she would never take a picture of because she didn't like her smile. To me this book is priceless. So that's it, Chuck is amazing and maybe we had one bad moment but it doesn't define him or I. He loved my mom and that matters. We are all going to get together for my mom's birthday in a few months and just celebrate the woman she was. Commenter, my mom didn't like to have pictures of her taken. My dad struggled a little to find a picture for her memorial service. At the after-service lunch I was sitting next to my sister and an aunt started to take a picture of us. We both automatically dropped our heads and put our hands up. With no regrets, people have a right to not have their pictures taken against their will. I feel bad for the mother. Reply, my mom didn't like the way she looked. She actually enjoyed photography behind the camera. She saw herself very differently than we did. And she did take photos, she just used filters because she had issues with self-image. I am very thankful for the photos. They are the real, authentic her. Top commenter, that's so wonderful, and touching. And I love that your mother was so beloved during her life, and now, and so glad that you updated a great resolution to a moment of poor judgment. Stories number 9. My husband, 29M, and his family disowned his mom, 56F, after her affair. I, 28M, didn't. Now the emotional consequences are taking a toll on my marriage. Need advice. I'm 28M and I've been with my husband, 29M, for 7 years, married for almost 1. This has been a genuinely good relationship. I love him deeply, and we've built something I'm proud of. He fits in great with my family, and I've always felt at home with his. I'm close with his younger brother and his girlfriend, but the person I've always felt the strongest connection with is his mom. A few years back, I went through a rough depressive episode, and she was one of the only people who truly showed up for me. She didn't treat me like her son's partner, she treated me like family. I've always loved her for that. I'm close with my FIL too, but with my MIL, it always felt like more of a friendship. Then, everything flipped. Just after Christmas, my FIL sat us all down and told us that she had been having an affair, and that it wasn't the first time. He said he tried to make things work, but he couldn't do it anymore. He was heartbroken, and it shattered the whole family. My husband and his brothers were crushed. They all cut contact with her, and she moved out soon after. I get it. Cheating is a betrayal, especially after decades of marriage. I'm not trying to excuse what she did. But I also couldn't ignore the fact that, during one of the worst times in my life, she showed me care and kindness when I felt like I had no one. That stayed with me. A few weeks ago, she reached out to me directly. She said she was running low on rent and didn't know who else to ask. She sounded anxious and desperate. I helped her. It wasn't a huge amount, and she was incredibly grateful. She asked if I'd be willing to meet her for coffee. I said yes. When we met, she broke down. She told me she tried reaching out to her sons, but none of them responded. I listened. I didn't try to defend her or fix anything. I just tried to be there for her, the way she once was for me. Later that evening, I told my husband about it. He completely lost it. He said I betrayed him and went behind his back, and he left the house. The next day, I tried to explain where I was coming from. I told him I wasn't trying to choose sides. I just reacted to someone I care about being in a tough spot. He didn't say much, just told me not to do it again. When his brothers found out, they were disappointed in me too. They said I crossed a line and should have respected their decision to cut contact. Now I feel stuck. I understand why they're upset. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just couldn't turn my back on someone who once didn't turn her back on me. I wasn't trying to undermine their pain. I was trying to act with compassion. I'm not here to justify what I did, and I understand why my husband feels hurt. I acted on instinct and compassion in a tough moment, but now I feel like I've damaged something really important. I'd really appreciate advice as to what to do further. How do I navigate this? Update: my husband, 29M, and his family disowned his mom, 56F, after her affair. I, 28M, didn't. Now the emotional consequences are taking a toll on my marriage. Need advice? I didn't expect my post to gain the kind of traction it did. I genuinely appreciate the advice many of you offered. Some responses were a bit nuclear, understandably, Reddit, but I did take in a lot of perspectives that helped me reflect. I want to share some context that I didn't include in the original post, which I now realize was important. A few years ago, I went through a rough depressive episode. My husband and I were doing long distance at the time. He was working abroad, and while he supported me as best he could, it was hard. His mom was the one who showed up in person. She dropped by often, made sure I was eating, even came with me to therapy a couple of times. It wasn't some grand gesture, but it mattered. That kind of consistency stays with you. So when she reached out a few days ago, anxious and saying she didn't know who else to ask, I just reacted. I helped her with a bit of money, from my personal account, nothing major, and I agreed to meet her for coffee. I didn't tell my husband before doing it, and that was where things really unraveled. He was blindsided. We've always been the kind of couple who talks through the hard stuff, and I acted completely on my own. I see now how that felt like betrayal to him. After a bit of space and some heavy conversations, we talked properly. He told me he'd spoken to his younger brother and finally got the full story about their last attempt to reach out to their mom. It wasn't just an argument, it was bad. She said things that were apparently cruel and deeply personal, the kind of stuff that cuts years deep. I hadn't known any of that. Neither of us had. Hearing it changed something for me. The woman I saw at coffee was warm, vulnerable, even a little lost. But that's not the woman his brother dealt with. And maybe both are real. Maybe she's unraveling. Maybe she's always been complicated. I honestly don't know. What I do know is that my husband's boundaries are valid. He told me clearly that he's not ready to reconnect with her, and that he's not comfortable with me being in touch with her either. And after hearing what I've heard, I understand that. I've told him I'm stepping back. If she does reach out again, I'll tell her that I can't be the person in the middle, not unless something genuinely shifts between them first. We both apologized. He for shutting down so quickly, me for making a decision without him when I shouldn't have. We're okay now. I still think there's something more going on with her, emotionally, maybe even mentally. She's been a stay-at-home mom most of her life, her siblings live abroad, and from what I've heard, she's already asked her friends for help before coming to me. That doesn't excuse anything, but it does make me think about how lost she might be right now. Still, that's not something I can fix. Right now, my focus is on us. I can care about what his mom did for me in the past and still recognize that she's hurt people I love. This whole situation has been messy and a bit surreal. We didn't walk away from it with everything fixed, but we've come out of it with a better understanding of where we each stand. We handled it the best we could, and at the end of the day, we're still solid. Still, I can't lie. There's a part of me that feels pulled toward who she was for me during that rough time. Letting go emotionally feels messier than I expected. How do you emotionally let go of someone who was once there for you, when the situation clearly calls for distance? Stories number 10. Dating in my 30s feels like navigating a sea of single moms. Anyone else? 33M here. Lately, as I've been dipping my toes back into dating, I've noticed a trend. Most of the women around my age who are single are also moms. Nothing against them at all, but after a past relationship with a single mom, I've realized that dynamic just isn't for me. I dated a woman when I was 29, she was 34 with a 6-year-old, and honestly, it was a disaster. I felt like I had all the responsibilities of a father figure but zero say in anything. The kid's behavior was rough, and anytime I tried to step in, I was the bad guy. The biggest issue? She constantly compared me to her ex, even though she claimed he was awful. It left me drained and, honestly, kind of traumatized. Now, trying to get back out there, I feel old. Like I blinked, and suddenly, everyone my age has a kid. It's making dating feel way harder than I expected. Anyone else feeling this? How do you navigate dating in your 30s when you know you don't want to be in a stepdad role? Stories number 11. Aita for severing from my friends over someone's autistic behavior. I am 27F. I moved to a new town last year for a new job, and after a few months found a social group in the new town that I get along very well with and we have similar interests and hobbies. However, one part of this group is Sam. Sam is autistic, functional, but he doesn't really get social interaction for the most part, and his brother, Nate, brings him to everything we do. While I find him a little off-putting, he has a habit of laughing at inappropriate moments and will ramble for hours about some subjects if someone mentions them. I get that it's not his fault and have always made an effort to be polite and considerate to him. Over the last 4 or 5 months, Sam has developed a very unsubtle crush on me. From what Nate has said, I get the impression I'm the nicest any girl around his age has ever been to him. He constantly goes out of his way to buy things for me, even when I insist that I can pay for it myself, obsessively follows me on social media, asks if we can hang out just the two of us, which I always say no to, and has repeatedly asked me if I have a boyfriend, which I don't. I don't because I'm gay, though I'm not open about it to everyone. And even if I was interested in men, Sam is not my type between his mental difficulties and us simply not having any interests in common. I have not told Sam that I'm gay, but I have repeatedly and firmly told him that I am not interested in him. Sam has not been taking the hint, and my friends, including Nate, have told me they think it's cute that Sam is interested in me and encourage me to not take him seriously. Last week, things escalated. My birthday was last week, and due to quarantine measures a few of my friends sent me gifts in the mail, a Starbucks gift card, a gift over Steam, things like that. Sam, however, sent me a box of very expensive lingerie, easily hundreds of dollars worth. Even weirder, it fits me so he somehow knows my size, and a long letter confessing how much he's in love with me and wants to see me wearing it, but not for too long. Eyes closed face. I know where Sam lives, with his and Nate's parents, called their parents on the phone, and drove over to their house to return the lingerie. The parents were very weirded out but promised to talk with Sam. A couple of days ago, Sam sent me the lingerie in the mail again, with another long letter that this time said how he understands how surprised I must have been but he can't wait to see me in it. I sent messages to Nate and the rest of my friends that I am not comfortable being around Sam anymore, and will not be meeting up with them in the future if Sam is there. When my friends blew up at me for hating Sam because he's different and leading him on, I shut down my social media account and blocked all of them. Now that I've had a day or two to calm down, I'm wondering if that was an overreaction. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info, did you directly respond to Sam when you returned the lingerie? This sounds like you've told everyone except Sam that you're not interested in Sam. You're not leading him on, but I'm not clear on why you didn't communicate clearly and directly with him when the problem started. Reply, I did tell him. The first time he asked if I had a boyfriend, I told him, no, and I'm not looking for one. I have, on several occasions before the lingerie, told him to his face, I'm flattered that you like me, but I don't feel the same way, do not want to spend time with you without the rest of the group, and would appreciate it if you'd stop buying things for me and asking if I have a boyfriend. Commenter 2. Info, I sent messages to Nate and the rest of my friends that I am not comfortable being around Sam anymore. Does this mean you told them about the lingerie and letters? Reply, I told them about the letters, not the lingerie, beyond that it was a very expensive gift. My guess is that it's at least a couple $100 worth, and did stress that the letters specifically included sexual comments. Update. Thank you everyone for your support, and I learned a lot from reading the comments to this thread. Particularly that I was wrong to ascribe Sam's behavior to his autism, it's just him being a creepy stalker with no boundaries. I took some of the thread's advice and confronted Sam's parents and Nate about this directly. Per the thread's advice, I went accompanied by a male cousin of mine who lives in the area who I trust after I explained the situation, plus the mace I habitually carry in my purse. In short, Sam's stalking extends beyond what I was aware of. That's how he knew my size for the lingerie, and in fact that was only one of several gift boxes he'd bought for me on a schedule he'd written up about how our relationship would go in his mind. He'd spent, no joke, more than $1,000 on me. The parents confirmed that it was all Sam's own money from his job, but that part of his cognitive problems is a total inability to grasp money. Also, Nate specifically encouraged Sam's crush on me behind my back. I am, apparently, by far the nicest and most considerate any woman has been to Sam, and both Nate and Sam thought I was attracted to Sam, to the point of Nate and Sam telling their parents that Sam had found a girlfriend. Nate has his reasons that I don't want to get into. I'm not saying I agree with his reasons, because I don't, but I told Nate, Sam, and their parents that I am not and never will be interested in Sam. It's not because Sam is autistic, or because he's white and I'm not. I did not tell them it's because I'm gay, just that I am simply not interested, never will be interested, and find his behavior extremely creepy. I concluded with telling them that I am willing to not contact the police or start legal measures about a restraining order if I never see Sam again, but that I have begun documenting his behavior, including making copies of Sam's letters, in the event that I need to. I told Nate and his parents that Sam needs serious help before his behavior does escalate to legal and criminal consequences. I hope Sam can get the help he needs. My impression is that he genuinely thought he was being romantic and acting like people do in the movies and TV shows he watches, and no one was telling him that's not how real life works. Their parents, at least, seemed to take this seriously, but as I left to get in my car Nate shoved the box of lingerie into my arms and told me to keep it and maybe I should stop being such a frigid bitch. I've made sure my apartment manager knows what Sam and Nate look like and what their phone numbers are, and to not let them into the complex or give them any information about me, and have laid out steps to change my routine in case Sam tries to resume his previous behavior. Stories number 12. Becoming a legal guardian to my adult cousin who doesn't seem to have a legal existence. The whole situation is a huge mess, so I'll have to describe it in length. Apologies for the wall of text. This is about my cousin, let's call him Jimmy. Jimmy is a developmentally disabled adult. He's in his late 40s but has the cognitive abilities of an 8-year-old child. He has always lived with his mother, she took care of him until she passed suddenly at the beginning of last year. Jimmy isn't capable of holding a real job, he does odd jobs for people in town and on the nearby farms and gets paid cash. He and his mom lived on what little cash he brought home and what I suppose was his mom's social security from how he describes it. They were very poor but were capable of buying the basic necessities, and their neighbors gave them second-hand clothes or things they didn't need anymore. From what I understand his mom owned their house, which is quite small and in a derelict state, and some land where they have a few chicken and a garden where they grow vegetables. They are simple people from a rural area who live on very little. Jimmy is partially capable of living on his own, that is, he can do some basic cooking, do the laundry, the house cleaning and the groceries if it's a store he knows. He also takes care of the chicken and the garden. But he can't drive, can barely read, and is not really capable of functioning in an environment he doesn't know. He can't take care of anything like paying the bills, filing taxes, he doesn't have a bank account or anything like that. He's also shy and afraid of strangers. He keeps his cash in a box and knows not to spend more than he has but doesn't really have a fine grasp of how money works. I should add that he's the kindest person I know and a hardworking man who never complains about anything. After his mom's passing, Jimmy stayed alone in their home, with no one to take care of him. He has lived there since then, about a year ago. I was out of state for years and only just came back and decided to go see how he was doing. I was shocked to see that although he has organized his life the best he could, he lives in absolute poverty. There's no working AC in his home, and no heating to speak of. He hasn't paid the bills, probably doesn't know how to, so he has no electricity and no phone. Thankfully he has a well he can pump water from. He keeps himself clean but with no hot water. It's like he was living in the 19th century. He survives on what little he makes doing odd jobs, buys some groceries and eats the vegetables he grows and eggs from his chicken, but it's not enough to feed him properly, especially in the winter. It seems that he's been left to live alone after his mom died and has not reached out for help, and no one has given him a hand either. I was very surprised that he wasn't visited by Adult Protective Services or anything like that after his mom's passing. He clearly needs help and is not capable of asking for it. He needs a guardian but doesn't have one. His mother was his actual guardian but that was never made official. He always lived with her and it looks like she never took any disposition about what would become of him after she died. She was a loving mother but she wasn't very socially adapted herself. I and my siblings are the last family he has. I'd like to become his guardian because I think he needs help but I know that he needs to go on living like he's used to, because removing him from his house would kill him. I don't think there's any way Adult Protective Services will let him live in his house but that's what he needs, with help from a guardian of course. His whole life revolves around his garden, his animals, fishing and taking long walks in the woods. He's capable of organizing his life in the conditions he's used to. However, he completely shuts down when he's with strangers in places he doesn't know. I've witnessed that. Putting him in a home somewhere would be terrible for him. I inherited a house in a nearby town and I'm planning to settle there, so I could check on him. He seems to be okay with that. I've reached out to his mom's church's pastor and he thinks he could have church members organize a watch to go see him regularly and help him. I thought I would help him get help from services, and help him file for SSDI because he's physically fit to work but can't realistically hold a job and he is disabled. But as I did so I wasn't able to find an ID, a birth certificate, a SSN or anything. I searched the whole house thoroughly but couldn't find anything. He doesn't have a driving license, or any kind of ID. He's never filed taxes or anything official like that. He has no idea what a birth certificate even is. I'm starting to suspect that Jimmy's mother never bothered to register his birth. That wouldn't be so surprising coming from her. So I have a lot of questions. How can I legally become my cousin's guardian? How do I proceed to find if he has a birth certificate somewhere, and a legal exitance? If he doesn't, how can he be registered? What services can a disabled adult in his situation receive? Jimmy's mom owned their house, so I suppose he automatically inherited it as her next of kin. However, I couldn't find a copy of a deed in the house. Where could I get that? And how do I make sure that Jimmy becomes the rightful owner of his house and can stay in it? It would be a nightmare for him if he had to leave his land. Edit, we're in Oklahoma. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you need a family law attorney that specializes in guardianship cases to handle this. Your wall of text isn't even close to enough information to give you a super accurate picture, and the only way for you to navigate this with as little damage as possible to Jimmy is by attorney. You can legally become your cousin's guardian by petitioning the court for guardianship. You will have to take a class on what that means, and potentially do some extensive paperwork. Sadly, there will be no way to accomplish this easily, as Jimmy will have to be evaluated for guardianship, because he likely was never formally assigned a guardian by the state. This means going to mental health professionals, visits from APS, many people will enter his life if only briefly to evaluate if he is safe, competent, etc. Without a lawyer, and no guardian, the state will have to immediately take him out of the situation he is currently in if they determine he is mentally unable to care for himself, which is likely given your description of his living conditions without power. With a lawyer, you may still have this problem, but the lawyer could potentially mitigate the issues. If you have his birthday, you can find out this information. It would also be helpful to have his mother's death certificate, as it provides information that would be helpful in researching, date of birth, full name, etc. This will cost at most a few $100s with a manual record search in the county birth registry, likely it would be less. You would petition the court to do this with the county birth registry. There is a process for doing this that would be easier with a court order. There are many services he would be entitled to as a disabled adult. Too many to list, and they all have complicated hoops to jump through to qualify. Start with the property appraiser's office to get the information the county has on the property. This will allow you to do a title deed search with county records. As a guardian, you could put the house into probate as the agent of the sole heir and get it transferred to him. All this is to say that while Jimmy may enjoy living in his own little world, you would need to seriously understand that societally this is viewed very negatively. During his evaluation, a caseworker may decide that Jimmy cannot live on his own, and a judge is almost always going to then follow that determination. You're doing the right thing trying to step up, just be prepared for how different the landscape may look at the end of the journey. Reply, thank you for your detailed answer, much appreciated. Yes, I'm aware things may not go the way I imagine. I'm torn honestly. I can't let him live in his current conditions, it would be cruel and downright neglect. I'm mad that his neighbors let him live like that and didn't do anything. On the surface he looks like he manages, and he's proud of his perceived independence, but when you know him you know he needs help. At the same time, if he has to move he will hate it. I convinced him to stay with me for a while in the house I'm renovating, but after 4 days he said he wanted to go home and I couldn't convince him otherwise. I haven't found a good solution yet. As for your first point, you're right of course, but I know Jimmy will hate being prodded by social workers and doctors. I know it's for his own good, but he can be very stubborn and it's going to be tough. I hope they let me or someone he trusts be with him for this. Edit. I must add that I have paid his bills and given him food and blankets, so his conditions are a little less dire, but there's still a lot of work to do in the house. Commenter 2, consider having him visit your home for 1 or 2 days every week. He may become more comfortable there with time. If he's required to leave his home, that would make the transition less stressful for him. Reply, it might be a solution indeed. I'm quite willing to let him live with me on my property if he wants. Commenter 3, I would come up with some tasks he can do at your new house. It may take his mind off of wanting to go home. Hopefully any social workers and doctors would be willing to meet him and build some trust before trying to treat him. Best of luck. I hope it works out for you. You are an amazing person. Reply, I definitely plan to hire him to help me renovate my house. He's a surprisingly good handyman. My hope is that if he renovates a room with bath and a kitchen for himself, he'd be willing to live there. Update 1. This is an update to my post because people were worrying about my cousin and kindly asking for news. I hope this one doesn't break the rules of the sub. First, the good news. I've found an arrangement with my cousin. It took a lot of persuasion, but he agreed to spend his nights at my place while we do some badly needed repairs to his house. At least he has a warm and safe place to sleep, and I can make sure he has a real dinner. He develops anxiety when he needs to change his routine, and this is a major change for him. I'm proud of him for being willing to try. I drop him at his house in the morning and either we do some work there or I go to work and he spends his day as he's used to, tending to his animals and his garden and hiking. He says he needs to hike every day, even in terrible weather, otherwise he feels trapped and gets nervous. Then I pick him up in the evening and we go to my place. He seems okay with this arrangement for now. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but for now we're fine. He's grieving his mother and spending time in the place where they live together seems to comfort him, but I feel better knowing he's not spending his nights alone over there in a crumbling house. I'll booze the rest. Now, things are going to be complicated. I haven't been able to find anything about Jimmy's birth certificate in the county records. There isn't a deed for his house in the records either. I have no idea who could be the owner of this house and the land around it. I'm meeting with a lawyer soon to talk about the guardianship issues, and we'll need to discuss the rest too. I really hope that trying to become his guardian officially isn't going to do more harm than good, and that he won't end up losing his house or being forced to live somewhere else against his will. I'm afraid this is going to be an uphill battle, but I'm ready. Update 2. Update to my post about my cousin Jimmy. First of all, warm thanks to all the people who checked on us. I'm here to share good news. I finally got guardianship of my cousin after a hearing with a judge. It was a tedious process with lots of paperwork, but it worked in the end. I hired a lawyer who was very helpful. Jimmy and I received visits from social services and doctors to evaluate him. Jimmy was not really happy with this, as talking to people he doesn't know gives him anxiety, but he did his best. He was formally evaluated for his disability, which had not been done since he was a kid. The social workers determined, as I had, that he couldn't stay in his home, but they agreed that he was safe with me. I was afraid they would remove him, but they were really helpful and agreed that the best place for him is with me. He will also be receiving services from the state, which will be a good thing, especially for his access to health care. We finished renovating a room with a bathroom and a little kitchen for him in my house. This way he lives with me, but he has privacy when he wants to be alone. He worked hard with me on this project and we're both quite happy with the result. He seems to have accepted that he couldn't spend his nights at his house anymore. We built a chicken coop and brought his chickens to my property. It was quite the fun transporting 11 chickens in a pickup truck. He has also started to do some gardening and he helps me around the house. The house I'm renovating was in a very poor state, so there's no shortage of work to be done. Jimmy keeps himself busy and he gets to exercise as much as he needs, so he's feeling well. I still drive him to his house regularly so he can fish in the creek and hike on the paths he knows. We're exploring the nature near my home so he can find new places to hike. On a side note, we finally found Jimmy's birth certificate, with great difficulty because he was registered under his mother's maiden name and with a different first name. From what I heard from the few people who knew his parents when they were young, they didn't trust the government and came to live on an isolated farm to not be bothered by anyone. It looks like they tried to hide their son's birth by registering him under another name. It might have looked like a good idea at the time, but it certainly didn't help us. Anyway, I'm quite pleased with the way the situation turned out. Jimmy now has a safe place to stay and someone to take care of him, and he looks happy with his new life. Stories number 13. Aita for not wanting to wear a different bridesmaid dress. A few months ago, my 32F good friends, 33M Riley, fiancé, 33F Sam, asked me to be a bridesmaid. The bride-to-be and I have always been friendly but not very close. She never seemed very interested in getting to know our friend group despite repeated attempts, so I was pretty surprised when she asked me. Still, I agreed. The wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and while I'm more than happy to take part, I've been having some issues with the dress situation. The bridesmaid dress was picked out last year, and the fittings were officially finished last month. Sam paid for everything. The plan was for all bridesmaids to wear the same exact dress. She really stressed that she wanted all of us to look identical. But, during brunch 2 weeks ago, she told me that I'll need to wear a different dress. Apparently, she decided that all of the brides' maxes should have a different look instead of looking identical. I thought it was a bit weird to change something like this so late in the game, but didn't really think much else of it. We agreed to a date time for my fitting, and continued with brunch. Fast forward to the day of my fitting last week. The new dress was unexpected. While the old dress was a cuffed off-the-shoulder emerald green dress with a high slit and was fairly form-fitting, this new dress was giving elevated muumuu. It was shapeless and long-sleeved, and was what I can only call vomit green. Regardless, I agreed to wear the dress, thinking at least the other bridesmaids would join me in my suffering. 2 days ago, during dinner with one of the bridesmaids, I asked if she's already seen her new dress. She looked confused, and asked me what I was talking about. I reiterated what Sam said during brunch, and she looked even more confused, and told me that she hasn't heard anything about getting a new dress. This is when a few alarm bells started going off. Later that night, I texted all of the other bridesmaids asking if they'd been told anything about getting new dresses, and they all said no. I once again reiterated what Sam told me during brunch, and they agreed that the situation was starting to look a bit sus. One of them suggested that it may just be a misunderstanding. I didn't understand how it could be a misunderstanding, but decided to speak with Sam again anyways. I called Sam yesterday, and after some generic chit-chat, I asked her why she hasn't told any of the other bridesmaids that they're getting new dresses. Long silence. So much so that I thought the call disconnected. She then told me that she made a last-minute decision not to get everyone different dresses, but I'd still be wearing a different dress because she already bought it. She already bought the old dress too, so this reasoning made zero sense. I tried to reason with her by mentioning how strange it would look for one bridesmaids to look completely different from the others and would draw unnecessary attention, but she said she didn't mind. She then rushed to get off the phone, and basically hung up on me. Later that day, I texted her to tell her that I didn't feel comfortable wearing that dress, and I kinda felt like she's picking on me for some reason. Haven't received a response yet. Part of me feels like I'm being a bit dramatic, but another part of me feels like singling me out for no reason. I don't want to cause any drama or stress, but I also don't want to feel uncomfortable at the wedding. So, Aita Reddit. A few people have suggested that Sam is jealous of me being Riley's friend, but another close female friend of Riley's is also a bridesmaid, but she is a lot closer to Sam than I or anyone else in our friend group is. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she jelly girl. Do not participate in the wedding if she is going to be such an AH. You should tell your friend because that is BS all around. Reply, I'm learning towards just demoting myself to guest. But my friend was so happy to hear that I agreed to be a bridesmaid. Commenter 2, something is definitely sus. Either she thinks you're too close to the groom and is targeting you because of it, or she thinks you're too pretty and wants to make sure she looks better than you. Either way, targeting is definitely going on. Your male friend might not be your male friend much longer. Considering the targeting, I would tell your male friend the truth and let the chips fall as they may. Tell him you don't want to be in the wedding because the bride picked out a really ugly dress just for you, and if you are not the MOH, that's even weirder. You feel like this is some kind of personal attack, so you think it would be better to bow out than become some kind of laughingstock on his big day. It will definitely piss the bride off, but it prevents the bride from making up lies about why you wore the dress you did or that you dropped out because you can't stand to see them get married. If you've watched Charlotte at all, you've likely seen some bride stories where bridezillas did this to some bridesmaid they hated but felt they had to invite because of the groom. This sounds on par. Reply, oh boy, ugh. I foresee multiple unpleasant conversations in the near future. I'm just wondering if this was her plan from the beginning, or if something happened pretty recently that made her dislike me. Commenter 3, NTA, this was a very calculated move to make you look bad. Reply, but why? I can't figure it out. We've never argued and all of our interactions have been pretty positive. Does OOP still have the possession of both original and new dress? Reply, nope, she took the original dress back. Update 1, didn't think I'd have an update so soon, but here we are. I spoke with Riley over the phone last night, and explained the entire dress situation. He seemed more disappointed than surprised, which caught me off guard, and was pissed on my behalf. He then told me what he believes is the reason behind Sam's newfound hostility towards me. Last month while he and Sam were having dinner with his family, his mother let it slip that Riley and I kinda went on a date a while ago. To be clear, we did not actually date. We went on a double date with a friend and a girl he was into because he was so nervous. I never even counted it as a real date because Riley and I were just there to make our friend more comfortable. There has never been anything even remotely romantic between us. Also, keep in mind that this happened almost 12 years ago. I had honestly completely forgotten about it. Riley said that he explained everything to Sam to drive home the fact that it wasn't a real date, but she was fixated on him not telling her about it until now. She said that if it was truly not a real date and if he really didn't have any feelings for me, then he would have already told her about it. Things were tense for a few days, but they later apologized to each other, him for not saying anything and her for overreacting, so he thought that the issue was resolved. That seems to not be the case. Anywho, Riley plans on speaking with her tonight, so we'll see what comes of that. Regardless, I don't think it makes sense for me to continue to be a bridesmaid, even if I'm allowed to wear the original dress. Hoping everything works out. Top comments. Commenter 1, wow. That is super unhinged. It's a huge red flag. I agree that you probably should step out of the wedding party. Reply, yeah, I could not believe it when I heard that that's why she's acting a damn fool. Madness. Commenter 2, why haven't you been asked to be a groomswoman? Reply, OP has a lot of brothers, so all of them are his groomsmen. There's already an equal number of bridesmaids and groomsmen. Although, with me likely no longer being a bridesmaid, not sure what the plan would be. Commenter 3, Riley's mom did that on purpose and no one can change my mind. Sam sounds unhinged and was probably hoping this would push either her to break up in a rage or for Riley to wake up to the psycho he's about to marry you, unfortunately, were used as the catalyst. Very uncool. Definitely skip the wedding and keep Riley at arm's length till he either dumps Sam or handles his mother. Commenter 4, well, it seems he has bigger issues to resolve now than handling the dress situation. He's marrying the mental one. That girl is unhinged, getting mad at something that wasn't even a date that happened 12 years ago. I would say, if this wedding happens, just go as a guest. Update 2, well my fellow potatoes, I have another quick update. Things don't seem to be going well. This afternoon, Riley asked me if he could stay at my place for a few days, until he has to travel for work later this week. Of course I said yes, but asked why he wants to stay with me. He literally lives 30 minutes away. He said that he doesn't want to talk about it right now, so I backed off. He's currently holed up in one of my guest rooms, and hasn't come out in hours. I am worried. Top comments. Commenter 1, BTW, do you live alone? Because the crazy GF might use this as an ammo to destroy your reputation, saying that you stole her fiancé, even now that he's there in your home. Can't he stay with his family? Reply, yes, I do live alone. His parents are about as far away from him as I am, so don't know yet why he didn't go to them. I don't mind either way. Besides, my rep is solid and my network is quite a bit larger than hers, so not really worried. Commenter 2, he's seeing his GF for who she really is. Also, have you considered that Riley may have always had feelings for you, and that's what's making her so mad? I'm sure someone already mentioned this in the comments on the other update, but I am playing catch up. Reply, I honestly don't think that's the case. Trying not to think too much about the situation other than making sure he's okay. Commenter 3, oh. I won't lie that I'm glad he's taking space from Sam after all of your other posts, but it's still very sad and my heart goes out to him. Go pick up his favorite takeout comfort food and maybe give his family a call just in case. You know him best, good luck. Reply, made him one of his faves, Rogan goshed, and it's currently cooking on the stove. Trying to convince him to come out and eat, and watch Doctor Who with me, but no luck yet. Commenter 4, this is a Sam problem. Not a you problem. Riley should know who he is marrying. Some people are just jealous of everything. But you occupy a lot of rent-free space in Sam's mind. Because she is a jellyfish. Jealous. Update 3. This afternoon, while Riley and I were at work, I received a call from the security desk of my residential community. Someone was there, claiming that they're my guest, but they didn't have a code and their name wasn't on the visitors list. It was Sam. I told security to deny her entry, which they did. Not even a minute later, Sam called me, but I didn't pick up. She called me thrice before I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then 4 more times after I did. She then sent a text saying, "You're causing misunderstandings. You need to send him back today." I'm home, but Riley is still at work. Haven't told him anything yet, don't want to stress him out while he's working, but will after he returns to my place. Also, haven't tried to contact Sam, and I don't plan on doing so anytime soon, really don't foresee any convos between us going well right now. Random kind of funny thing to note, since yesterday, Sam has been removing me from the Bridesmaid group chat, but the other bridesmaids keep re-adding me after noticing that I'm missing. This has happened 5 times. OMG. Top comments. Commenter 1, LOL, send him back. Do you keep him in a box in your closet? I think you might have helped your friend to avoid a terrible marriage. Please let us know what happens after work. Reply, I was tempted to respond with something like, sorry, USPS is closed RN, but figured that wouldn't help the situation. Commenter 2, how is OP causing misunderstandings? Sam has done all of this on her own. All the OP did was ask the bridesmaids if their dresses changed and informed the groom. Seriously, what the fuck did she think was going to happen when his close friend walked down the aisle in that monstrosity and no one else did? He'd have known what was happening and why, and he'd have been pissed. Commenter 3, misunderstandings. Puke green dress and changes to it for only you. She ought to just have said she didn't want you as a bridesmaid. Groom could have found another placement for you. The man better run fast out. Op, I am glad you have good security, but you and Riley need to get somewhere to lay low a little bit. Keep that crazy away from both of you. Perhaps ask the bridesmaids to stop reading you and leave the group as the bride doesn't want you. Maybe say something like, ladies, please understand that there are misunderstandings going on, and since Sam doesn't want me here, please respect that. If she ever wants me back, let her add me back. Bye. Commenter 4, Sam wasn't going to take any responsibility for the dress. She was going to try to convince Riley that OP changed the dress on purpose to ruin their wedding, and the plan all fell apart. Update 4. Last night, after Riley returned to my place after work, I told him everything regarding Sam trying to come to my house, and showed him the text message and missed calls. He was pissed. I have never seen him so angry in all my years knowing him. He was completely silent but looked like he was 2 seconds from setting someone on fire. After letting him cool down for a bit, I asked him if he wanted to talk. He did. He told me that they always seem to argue about the same things. Then, she'd pretend to understand and be alright with everything only to bring it up again in the future. A few examples of the main things she'd say bring up. Our friend group is toxic and too close. Riley should be thankful to her for keeping his drug habit a secret. A while ago, he mentioned to her that he smoked weed multiple times in uni. He's too secretive about work, and I know more about his job than she does. We're both feds who work in Intel, and our offices sometimes liaise with each other. He spends too much time with his family. He'd suggested couples counseling a few times, but she kept on refusing. They'd been doing pretty well for the past year or so and didn't argue much anymore, so he stopped brining it up. Apparently, the absolute last straw happened the day he asked me to stay at my place. During the argument with Sam that led to this, initially regarding the dress debacle but snowballing into other topics, in addition to trying to get him to cut me out of his life, she also called me the N-word, I'm black BTW, and Riley and Sam are white. According to Riley, that's when he knew that he was 100% done. Before he left, he told Sam that their relationship's over. Since then, she's been blowing up his phone, but he said he hasn't read any of her messages or answered her calls. She also sent him emails, which he has also ignored. He's going to tell his family and our friend group before he leaves for his work trip this week. I encouraged him to consider doing so sooner rather than later before Sam has a chance to try to stir things up. Also, when he returns from the trip, he plans on going back to his place to get his ring back from Sam, and tell her that she needs to find a new place to live, the house is his. We spent the rest of the night, and part of the early morning, eating leftovers and cookie dough, working our way through some Moscow mules, and watching Monty Python. It'll take some time, but I know he's going to be fine. Thank you my dearest potatoes for all of your insight, advice, and kind words. Love this community. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I want to say he should tell her to get out of his house before the work trip, because who knows what she'll do to it while he's not in the area. But she could also do the same thing after he kicks her out, unless he gets a security system installed before leaving. While he's gone, you have to be extra careful because Sam might try something knowing he isn't around. Reply, yeah, I don't love that he's waiting to tell her after he returns from the trip. Luckily, they do have a security system, mostly outside but a few inside as well. Account is under his name, but he just changed the passwords and removed her as an authorized user, so she can't tamper with the system. Well, technically she can if she wanted to smash the cams and other components with a hammer. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Don't have to worry about her while I'm at home, but I'll keep an eye out whenever I'm not. Commenter 2, he needs to save the before pictures so that after she steals or destroys everything he can call the cops on her. You are absolutely correct, he needs to get ahead of her controlling the public narrative. He also needs to warn his work that he has a mentally ill ex who is stalking him and that they should ignore any suspicious calls or emergencies, and not give any info out about him. Reply, good idea, suggested taking pics, and he said he'd do it while she's at work tonight. He works in Intel, so all buildings are very secure. She wouldn't even make it past the initial security team. Commenter 3, I'm so sorry you and him are going through this, but in the long run, this is the best thing that could have happened to him. She inadvertently ousted him from a lifetime of misery and blatant racism towards one of his closest friends. I'm so sorry she said that awful thing about you. But glad he knows what kind of person she is. Reply, thank you, the blatant racism DFS caught me off guard. Good riddance to her. Commenter 4, holy potatoes. Glad Riley had his eyes open before it was too late. That list alone has so many red flags. But then to be saying that word. Just no, hell no, I don't care what color you are, that is not right on any level. Such trash. While it might be too quick, he needs to go change the locks on his house and kick her out before the trip. Who knows what he will come home to. Get all family and friends to go pack her up and put her stuff outside. Stories number 14. Wibta, if I publicly shame my brother's GF for not telling anyone he was suicidal, he's dead. They definitely helped me put some things into perspective. I think I'm still going to consult with a lawyer. We have already consulted with a criminal defense attorney who agrees with us, but he is a friend, so perhaps biased. I'm going to refrain from posting any identifying information on SM right now. If nothing comes of any legal cases, and I really don't expect it will, I'll reevaluate. Right now, I'll focus on suicide prevention and mental health issues in general. Unfortunately, we still have to see these people one last time to get the last of his items and motorcycle. I will update again after that has been done, this weekend, if people want an update. Again, thank you. Especially the people who shared their own stories. It means a lot. 3 weeks ago my brother slit his wrists and hung himself. He was in the middle of what seems to have been a severe manic episode, bipolar 2 runs in my family, but he was 30 and had, to us, never showed any signs. He thought people were trying to kill him, thought the FBI was watching him, thought his coworkers were conspiring against him, etc. It was really bad. He confided all of this to his girlfriend and her mother, who he was living with. He hid it from everyone else. Her and her mother verbally admitted to knowing that he was, in her words, having a psychotic break, for an entire week before he killed himself. I've read his texts to her and he begs her for help. He tells her all of the manic things he believes in. I have police records of her admitting to knowing he was having a crisis for a week, had been cutting himself and had even cut himself that very night, had been using suicidal verbiage, you'll be better when I'm gone, etc. And knowing there was a family history of mental illness. She did nothing. Her mother did nothing. All they had to do was call us and tell us what was happening and we'd have been able to intervene. My son had this same exact type of break last year, they know this. They could have called a mental health professional themselves, they could have called 911 and 302'd him. Literally anything. I don't think they can be legally held accountable for their neglect. I'm meeting with a lawyer this week anyway, but morally, I think they're wrong and fucked up people. Wibta, if I use this situation to talk publicly on social media about mental health issues, suicide, and what not to do in a situation like this. I have not used social media aside from Reddit in 6-7 years but am willing to for this. I'll make a TikTok if I have to. I'd be using their names, facts only, and until I find out if I can publicly share texts and phone calls, only using information available on public documents. Aside from not helping my brother, these people are terrible and have been terrible to my family since this has happened. You can read my past posts, even one back in October 24th when my brother was still alive. Please help me decide. I feel like I won't feel better until the world knows my brother could still be alive if a phone call was made.